Live.
Hey guys, welcome to the Illuminerdi post-show wrap-up for the DC Fandome. How are you guys doing? I'm Braxton Timberlake, and I'm joined here with TC
What's up, guys?
and Corbin Shanklin.
Pleasure to be here.
There we go. So we're here to talk about all things DC Fandome. And speaking of Comic-Con, it was the real Comic-Con of this year. So let's just dig right into it. First of all, the show. We're in new territory altogether. We're used to going to the Comic Cons in physical form. We're used to standing in lines. We're used to waiting for tickets and entry passes to see all the fantastic announcements and new trailers and new information that comes out of these Comic Cons. And now we get it digitally because of the new world we're in. And it actually turned out fantastic. It might be a new model. So I know we have a bunch of Comic Con experience here. TC, first off, what did you think about the con, and how do you think it compared to other cons, physical cons in the past?
I think it was super cool. I love the fact that you got to like choose your own schedule, and I love that whole streaming it online. I think it's a really cool thing, but I do actually think that they should make this a physical event in the future. I know I've been to Comic Cons in the past. I've been to like Hall H's, and I've watched like Marvel panels where it's kind of like exclusively on Marvel, right? They get their own presentation. But then you have DC, they're part of the Warner Brothers panel, so they have to share the stage with other Warner Brothers properties, whether that be Harry Potter, Man from U.N.C.L.E., what other movies that, other movies that like not diehard DC fans are there for. Because I guess most people that go to those panels, they want that DC Comics content, like the movies and stuff. So I think this was very cool for DC. It was like strictly DC, not really WB anything. And in the future, make this an exclusive panel. Like I want DC to have its own thing. I think it was really cool.
Wait. Time out. You want more exclusivity? You didn't like how it was open to everybody?
No. I'm just saying, think of the hype if this was in like a stadium or in like, let's say a bubble, right? Like, they have the NBA playoffs in the bubble. Imagine like the hype, because, in the Marvel Hall H panels, the hype there is unreal. It's an experience that, Brax, me and you were in one together. Okay. You know how it is inside. It gets hype. And, just feeling the crowd around you when they announce like, oh my, and they show the Batman trailer. Imagine watching that, like, with a group of people. It's just an experience that you can't really replicate virtually. But I was a fan of how they did it. I liked how everything was structured. And yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on it.
There you go. Corbin, what are your general thoughts on DC Fandome yesterday?
I mean, I really enjoyed it. I'm a little bit more green to all this than you guys. I've never actually been to a Comic-Con in person. Getting to SDCC some years, a dream of mine, right? So getting to experience that just from my own home, from my own laptop, was fantastic. It gave me an opportunity that I wouldn't have otherwise had. I also really enjoyed seeing all the fan questions get answered. I can't imagine how exciting it must have been to be one of those individuals who got to have their questions answered by a member of the cast or a director or what have you. I thought it was all presented really well. I really liked seeing the Jim Lee artwork all over the place. I thought it was all in all huge success.
Absolutely. It's actually funny, TC, that you bring up our past experiences with Hall H. We have a fun story. And what was it, 2016? It was actually a really big year for DC, too.
It's a fun story because we said no one will believe it if we tell it. So why should we even tell it?
It's true, though. So the way Hall H works is it's about 6,000 seating, and they literally have you wait for 24 hours before you can get your seat inside. And it's literally a single file line that's camped out for a whole day. So we managed to do it through getting help from other friends and other ways, and we ended up waiting there a long time. And the way they do it is they dole out the tickets for Hall H one by one. And this was a big hype year. I mean, this was the year for Marvel where they were debuting Doctor Strange and bringing out the cast for Black Panther. And DC, they were doing Justice League and Wonder Woman for the first time. And Suicide Squad cast was all there. So we were really hyped and ready. And the way they do it is they hand out the tickets one by one. And keep in mind, there's 6,000. And we see that they're running out. And we've been waiting there a day. And
Yeah, keep in mind that you and I were ready to quit. You and I were ready to be like, dude, is this even worth it? Like, should we just bounce? Right.
Yeah. And also, we had other responsibilities. We weren't just there to have fun. We were there covering panels. We had done interviews all day. It was a lot. It was a whole lot. And they went 5,997, 5,998, 5,999, and 6,000. Where us, the last three were literally our party was the last three. We got the last ticket into Hall H, and to see it come full circle like this.
It was literally an out-of-body experience watching the person with the tickets like come up to us, and you see the tickets getting like less and less, and you're like, oh man. But literally, like I said, no one's gonna believe it, but yeah, we were the last three people to make it, and then the rest. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about it too is that was a huge year for DC, and you know the projects I mentioned, they were just debuting. We saw the trailer for Justice League the first time there. It was really amazing. So for us to now get this next digital fandom, digital Comic-Con, and we're getting the new trailer for the original Justice League. I don't know how you want to call it, and all these other projects. It's just like a fun full circle, and it's interesting to see DC really like make another step up in the zeitgeist, you know.
Very cool. Josh Goldman in the chat here says the live experience is absolutely completely different than watching at home. The crowd energy is contagious, and yeah, it's just like a live event, like a wrestling event, WWE events. If you've ever been, it's crazy. But I think they also did a really good job of pulling out this virtual event too.
Yeah, I mean, you know, compared to Comic-Con at home, wow, you know, it was definitely a step up, and
that
I wonder. Right? It technically did. Technically.
You know? Yeah, the most exciting thing about Comic-Con at home for me was the Hellstrom panel, which has not a lot of love. So to all of our viewers out there, if you haven't checked out the Hellstrom trailer, give it some love. For some reason, Marvel doesn't seem to be promoting it at all. I have my own theories on why that might be, but that was really the only notable thing for Comic-Con at home. The DC Fandome, like you said, very much a step above.
Yeah, I'm sure Kevin Feige and the whole crew at Marvel right now are just gently taking notes because they have a lot of stuff that they could show too. So it's going to be fun to see what comes next after this. So yeah, so we're here to break down all things DC Fandome. We wanted to go through the major projects that were discussed or that were presented yesterday and that we covered on our website, the Illuminerdi. So we wanted to go project by project. The first one we want to get to is Wonder Woman 1984.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So Wonder Woman 1984. They had a panel. It included the whole entire full cast, including the director Patty Jenkins, Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Pedro Pascal, Kristen Wiig. They were all there in true Wonder Woman form. And one thing I always notice about them is they always bring their infectious chemistry whenever they come to market the movie. So that's always kind of fun. It really seems like they actually like each other. But yeah, this movie has been a long time coming. You know, before the stream started, we were kind of taking a look at the original launch dates for Wonder Woman 1984. Originally, it was supposed to come out in December of last year. Then they got real excited and moved it back to November of last year. Then they decided, well, maybe November or maybe the winter's too crowded, and they moved it to June. And of course, it got moved to August. Then it got moved to October, and we still don't know if it's happening. But we want it to happen because we saw a lot of new stuff, like the trailer in the background. What did you guys think about the presentation of the panel for Wonder Woman?
I think the panel was cool. I love seeing the interactions, and like Corbin said earlier, I love you know, how the fans got to be a part of it and ask the actual panel questions. I was most looking forward to seeing Cheetah because Cheetah, they hadn't released anything about her. They had kept her kind of, you know, a secret. I think a doll came out that was like a Barbie, and that looked terrible. But when we actually saw the trailer, you know, they gave us Cheetah, and I think it looks 10 times better than the actual Barbie doll. But I was hyped. I know that they kind of have to keep Wonder Woman 84, and they have to keep pushing that because they've delayed it so many times, and they kind of have to keep that hype up for it. And hopefully, you know, people go out to see it still, even though it's been like messed around. The date's been messed around so many times. But overall, I love the, you know, the retroness of 84. I love the theme. Maxwell Lords, I'm sure, is going to do some crazy stuff. We don't know how Chris Pine is back. Like there's a ton of answers, ton of questions that need answering, and I just think that the movie's going to be pretty hype, in my opinion.
There you go.
Yeah,
How about you, Corbin?
I'm certainly excited for it. You know, Wonder Woman, the original film was, and still is, one of my favorite properties in the DCEU. So, of course, I'm excited for the sequel. I do have a pair of concerns. I exactly they'll bring back Steve Trevor. You know, I like Chris Pine. I thought he was great in the first movie. I also thought that his death was very emotionally resonant. You know, it struck a chord with me. And to see him back, well, obviously it's not going to be through some conventional means. I don't know. I worry that it's going to kind of undo some of that impact from the first film.
So for you, they better have a good reason why he's back, right? It better be like a meaningful reason and not just maybe some illusion, maybe, or, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's all going to come down to execution at the end of the day. And regarding Cheetah, yeah, I don't remember seeing the Barbie doll. I think there was some pack of stickers or something like that that kind of gave us our first look at her before this trailer. And in the trailer, I'm all right with her design. I think she looks good. We'll see it coming up here in a minute. I'm not overly fond of Barbara Minerva in the source material. I think I have a hard time kind of standing in the shadow of Ares, because I thought they did a great job with him in the original. But yeah, I mean, time will tell.
Can you hit pause right there, TC?
Yeah. Where? Here?
Yeah. Just good to pause it. It's interesting. I was just noticing as you're talking about that and talking about Barbara Minerva. Can you tell me a little bit more about her interpretation in the comics, Corbin?
So I'm not an expert on it by any means. However, she has a very close relationship with Diana, and it looks like in the film they're going to go for that too. You know, she looks like she looks up to her in a sense, but also is very her. And there definitely is a good deal of that in the source material. Her origin is rather complicated, and you'd be better off with someone a little more expert on the character relaying it to you. 252 obviously kind of gave a new take on it, and then we had Rebirth come in, and it kind of revealed that a lot of Wonder Woman's memories were false, and there was kind of a new origin. I can't remember the name of God, but there's this God that basically gives her powers in this. It looks like in the movie it might be, and this is just a theory of mine, you know, she might become, you know, her more feline form through Maxwell Lord. And I think he might also have a play in how Steve Trevor returns. Yeah, like I said, only time will tell for sure. That's really just speculation on my end.
Absolutely. Yeah, the reason I had you pause it for a second, because they were showing a scene of her running, and the interesting thing about in the trailer is you see a progression of her character. You know, she goes from the introduction where she's completely meek, kind of almost reminds me of Jamie Foxx in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And then you see her running in the streets, and you can see that she's getting stronger. And then you see her talking to Maxwell Lord, and you see she's getting more confident. Then she's more almost half beast-like, but she's still in her human form when they're fighting in the I guess it looks like the White House or some kind of Congress building or something, or a ballroom. And then finally you see her in her final form. So there's definitely a progression of her character that's interesting. Now, one thing I wanted to differ on you guys, I think the CGI looked terrible. And the one thing I'm concerned about is, like, look, this movie was supposed to come out like almost a year ago, so the CGI should have been done. Like, I mean, it should be looking immaculate, man. Like,
I think Fire Drake burst here in the chat agrees with you. He says, "I like Cheetah's design, except maybe the face being too human." So he wasn't kind of digging the combo of the CGI and the practical.
Yeah, look, I mean, like, I was pulling screen grabs for articles yesterday, and man, it was hard to get a still of her without complete motion blur and pixelation.
Yeah.
So, you know, and she was in the dark the whole time, so they're clearly hiding what she really looks like. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Right.
The only thing that concerns me is that the movie was already supposed to be out and ready. Because I remember Patty Jenkins saying last year, "I wish the movie came out in last winter. I don't know what's going on, but I'll wait till the summer." And then, of course, everything else happened. So, it's a lot.
So Josh here in the chat says, I wish we had a clearer shot of Cheetah as Cheetah. I think she looks good from what we saw, but we really didn't get to see a solid full-on look. And that's going back to what you said. You tried, you're trying to make this article and grab screenshots, and everything is like, it's got that gauzy and blurry effect on it, I guess.
Exactly. I want to go back to I want to rewind just a little bit. One thing I missed about the panel that I forgot to mention was it reminded me of real Comic-Cons, where at a Comic-Con convention, they have a panel, they have everybody up on the stage, and then they have a line of people that come up to ask questions on the microphone, and they tried to simulate that same experience. And a lot, they had random people and they had celebrities, and one of the celebrities that brought up was Venus Williams. I'm like, okay, all right, she's a Wonder Woman fan, dope. And she asked the dumbest question, like,
who would win in a tennis match?
You thought it too, then clearly. I mean, and it just reminded me. I got upset, but then I couldn't be upset because it just reminds me of that happens in conventions all the time. Someone comes up to the mic and goes, what was your favorite shoes that you wore on set?
That was a hashtag sponsored question, though. She was being paid to be there.
Right? For real.
It was a product placement, pretty much. Well, go ahead.
No, go.
I was going to say, one thing I am hyped about with having Cheetah in the next movie is because in the first movie, we didn't really get to see Wonder Woman have an epic fight scene because she was against Ares, who's just delivering, powers, and Dr. Poison wasn't a fighter. She was just, making all this poison gas and everything. But in this one, that's why I'm kind of hyped for Cheetah, because we're actually going to see, and we saw, I think, a small shot of the combat between them. I think that's going to be really dope.
Yeah, I'm always for heroes and villains facing off with their intended counterparts. I want to see Batman and Joker. I want to see Superman and Lex Luthor, or Superman and Brainiac. I want to see Superman and Brainiac. That kind of stuff. I love to see that, because you can really see it tests the hero, and you can see the might of their strength and how far they really go. So,
and going back to our time, Brax, I don't know about Corbin since he's a little bit younger. In the Super Friends, Cheetah was it for Wonder Woman. Right, Cheetah. Absolutely. It was Wonder Woman and Cheetah in those cartoons all the time. So she's been, one of her main arch nemesis for a while.
Absolutely. And do you mind rolling the trailer?
Yeah, I'll go back.
There you go. Yes, sir. So yeah, there's their love. I mean, obviously, the love between Diana and Steve is clearly still a centerpiece of this. But yeah, I totally agree with you, Corbin. For me, that gut punch of that was a sacrifice, and it's something that should really stick with her. So. It's hard to. It's understandable from a studio sense and even a director sense. You want someone as charismatic and such a good actor as Chris Pine, because he's magnetic on the screen. You can't lie. You know what I mean? He's hilarious. He's a great actor, so you'd want him in there. But we'll see how they handle it.
Also, in this movie, it's the opposite of the first movie. He's now the fish out of water. Because remember, they made a couple jokes in the trailer where he's I think it was I forgot the joke, but anyway, he's in a different time now where. Kind of like Captain America, time went on and he didn't, and he's just how she was in the first movie.
Absolutely.
I mean, the real trick for them is going to be figuring out a way to build on the relationship from them with the first without like I said, kind of negating that emotional impact. That shot right there,
money shot.
Just a second ago when Cheetah flies at Wonder Woman. Did that remind you guys of Darth Sidious in episode 3, Revenge of the Sith?
Where he just lunges toward her?
Yeah, where he just...
That's true. Seriously, what kind of Cheetah move was that? A corkscrew?
Yeah, that was bizarre. Me and my girlfriend Ruth were laughing out loud when we watched that trailer together, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think the combat later on, we'll see obviously in the trailer in a minute here when she's in her full, Cheetah form. I am excited to see that. I'm hopeful. I really dig the Golden Eagle armor. I'm very excited to see that in action. So, yeah, that should be good.
Absolutely. We get a couple of new shots here of the fight. I don't know if that's in the
building
or whatever.
What is she swinging on right there? People are saying it might be the invisible jet. We don't know what she kind of latched onto in the sky.
That'd be tight. I'd like to see the invisible jet in live action, or see. That'll be ballsy of them to
yeah. I mean, do. Oh, hopefully they don't cop out and say that the plane is invisible, means that it can't be seen on radar, because they actually have a joke right here where they're joking about he doesn't understand about radar. So I wonder if he'll just be off of radar or if they'll actually be an invisible jet.
They'll just call it stealth mode, dude. Like in the Avengers, what's it called? The big. I'm blanking on the name right now, but they have like stealth mode where it just becomes invisible.
The helicarrier.
Yeah, helicarrier. There you go.
Gotcha. I was thinking Agents of Shield.
Yeah, but and another question: how did they get that military airplane? There's a lot of questions here.
That was definitely thought provoking.
Yeah, you know, and then I mean, it's interesting. Like, obviously, a lot of this is about wish fulfillment and power. So I'm really interested on what they're trying to say, because 1984 is a key year. Whether you're talking about, you know, the thought of the book about, you know, the authoritarian, you know, dystopian future of America, which is 1984. There's a lot of themes I'm sure that are layered in here. So I'm really interested in how Maxwell Lord is going to play into all this, and what it's going to have to say about larger society, because, you know, Patty Jenkins seems to really want to say a lot with this. And
I'm going to agree with Ruth Brady in the chat here. She says, I'm hoping Kristen Wiig can do a serious role well. I didn't trust Kate McKinnon in serious roles, and she's grown on me. Yeah, when I was really kind of put off on the casting of Kristen Wiig, I was like, isn't she the comedy, you know, the comedy actor? But yeah, I'm really interested to see like if she takes it serious or if she can pull it off, really.
The thing is, if you really think about it, like, comedians typically make great actors if they take it seriously. You look at Robin Williams, you look at Jim Carrey, you look at, I mean, you can just go down the list. I know of there's something about being a comedian that it's easy to translate from being a comedian to a dramatic actor, from a dramatic actor to a comedian, it seems like. So, you know, and there has been a lot. She actually has a lot of indie films that she's done that really show her off. So we'll see what she can do. We can see what she can do.
All right, cool.
I think it's interesting that throughout the trailer, she doesn't have like a single comedic line or moment. You know, you get this parachute pants in a minute, right at the end of the trailer. There's comedy sprinkled throughout it, but none of it is given to her. Not a lick of it.
Well, you know, the thing I liked about the first movie, that there was comedy, but it was all in context with the film. And that's why I like my comedy, especially in superhero movies. I don't like it to make like, ta-da, here's the punchline. It's like, you know, yeah, like they had a conversation on the boat and she didn't understand because she had never seen a man. You know what I mean? Like, and it was this interesting, like, in context of the story comedy that's handled really well. So I hope they have more of that as opposed to more of these kind of sight gags with the parachute pants, even though, like, you know, it's funny. I just hope it's not throughout the whole movie, you know?
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but, you know, a lot of people like their laughs, you know? Well, great. Do you guys have anything else to share about the project? I mean, I will say this before I wrap up my thoughts. I did prefer the first trailer to this trailer. I really like the 80s beat, the feel of the first one. I felt like it really like it sold me on the movie. And this one did as well, but just it felt like a more conventional trailer to me, aside from the cheetah reveal. But I really dig the, you know, the vibe and the music of the first one.
Yeah.
You guys have any final thoughts?
I'm gonna have to agree with you. I think just the song choice, it just made that first trailer, and it starts in the mall, and just you know, just having her, seeing her back, the hype from the first trailer. This one, I was more watching it to see, you know, let's see what Cheetah looks like, and they didn't really show us what Cheetah looks like. It's very blurry, like you said. So I would go with the first trailer, really.
Yeah, personally, I preferred the first one without a doubt. That being said, there's an element of bias at play here. Because before I joined the team here, I would never watch anything past the first trailer. I like to see they had the offer right off the bat, and if that sold me on the movie, I was in. I don't want any more content. It calls to mind Spider-Man: Homecoming. I remember specifically there was this scene of Vulture plucking Spider-Man out of the sky, and it was intense and it was scary. And I caught that. It was in one of the later trailers. I caught that in the theater. And I remember seeing that scene opening night in the theaters and just feeling disappointed because that impact was gone. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the first one more simply because I was already on board. You know, I liked Cheetah. I liked seeing Wonder Woman show off some new powers with her lasso. You've got a shot of her kind of deflecting bullets by whirling it. It was fun, but definitely preferred the first one.
Here we go. Well, hey, I guess that's our thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984. The movie should be coming in a few months. It'll be interesting to see if it goes straight to VOD or if it does kind of the shared theatrical and VOD release that other releases are experimenting with now. We'll find out soon, but that was Wonder Woman 1984. That's our coverage on it. Thanks for joining us for Wonder Woman 1984. Now let's move on to the next project. we're gonna talk video games for a little bit. We could probably put this one on half speed, I would assume, because I don't think we're gonna slow it down too much. So yeah, what's that?
I was just saying Gotham Knights time. I wasn't sure if we were doing that one or Suicide Squad killed the Justice League first. But
This one is Gotham Knights, I believe.
Yeah, so interesting. So this is, they say this isn't an exact sequel to the Arkham Knight series, but it's made by the same cats. I'm really excited about this game because I'm a big fan of course, superhero stuff, but I'm a huge fan of co-op, and this is 4-player co-op. And to have like a co-op Batman Arkham type experience seems like mind-blowing to me right now, because it's what I wish they had in the previous games. I mean, I can't tell you how many conversations I had with my brother when we were playing this. Like, why can't you just be Robin and let's kick some butt? All right, I'll be Robin, whoever it is, you know. So
right,
it's really exciting, you know what I mean? But the future looks bright because they debuted 2 really big projects. Now with Gotham Knights, it looks like there's 4 new main characters. They're doing Batgirl, Robin, Nightwing, and Red Hood, which you could choose from. I'm not sure of quite the capabilities as far as story mode, if it changes the story, like who you select, or if it's out of your control. But they said that you could jump in, jump out throughout the game. So it looks like a good time to me.
Yeah, I really loved the execution of this trailer, because this was the mystery game, right? Like a lot of people didn't know what was happening. They're like, oh, Montreal, I forgot what the company is, but
WB Montreal, I got it.
Yeah, they're coming out with a new Batman game, and then they tease it here. You don't know who it is, right? And the first thing that I saw, I was like, oh, that is badass, was Nightwing's batons. Then they'll eventually show it here. I was like, okay, so they're doing a Bat Family game. And let's not even talk about the ending where they tease the Court of Owls. Like how they did that in this trailer was really freaking good. And Batman starts out here saying, you know, I'm dead. If you're seeing this, I'm dead, which is also a very cool concept. So I wouldn't consider myself like a hardcore gamer these days. I'm more of a retro gamer, but this is a game I would pick up and play, you know, with some friends, co-op, like Brack said. But I just think this overall execution of this trailer was fantastic.
Is that Bruce Wayne there?
No.
I feel like it's Red Hood, but that's just an educated guess. Regarding the Code Black, regarding Bruce being dead, that was a question I wanted to ask you guys. What do you think the chances that Bruce is actually dead?
I don't think he's dead.
Oh, have you guys played Arkham Knight?
No.
I played Asylum.
Okay. Well, we're the Illuminerdi, so we kind of spoil stuff. But at the end, he reaches the end of the line. They make a definitive end to the game. They always, you know, so there is outs where he could still be alive, but at the end he gets exposed. I forget who does it, but essentially he's tied up and they unmask him on TV, and it's the end essentially. So it's interesting, but they said this isn't a direct sequel to it necessarily. It's just kind of like, you know, picking up at another kind of Elseworld stories, even though it feels like the same kind of world, you know. And wow, that's a great shot.
Yeah,
yeah. I've heard people I've heard rumors already on Twitter and on the internet that people are hypothesizing that in this game that there's a twist that Wayne could end up being Talon in the end, speaking of Court of Owls. So like,
wow,
there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of different ways it can go. But I will say this: you guys need to get up on some of these movie video games, because Spider-Man game and the Batman games, they're as good.
I'm waiting for the PS5, man. I will jump back on when the PS5. Like, why get a PS4 now when the PS5 is about to come out, right?
So, I'm in the same boat.
Some of these games.
Then we'll play the Spider-Man PS4. We'll play the Avengers beta, you know, whatever's going on right now, Avengers Project, and we get the, you know, don't worry, man, we'll get there.
Yeah, no, I really wanted to check out the Spider-Man PS4 game. Did not have a PS4. I've waited long. And yeah, now I'm in the same boat. May as well just wait till the PS5 drops and
yeah.
I own Arkham City. I've owned it since I was like 16 years old. I still haven't got to it, unfortunately, but it is on the to-do list. So I hear you 100%.
It would just broaden your comic book experience, you know, superhero experience. But yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting. I'm sure like the 4 play very different. I mean, they're all kind of agile characters now that I think about it. So it'll be interesting to see how they really differentiate those play styles. That the bat cycle that Batgirl is driving is awesome. I don't know if you guys really checked out the design, but like the headlights that look like Batman's eyes and the way it takes Nolan's cycle to the next level. So I really love the designs and the look of this game. And like, if we could get a movie looks like this, I'd be happy. I'd be
Yeah,
quite
look at
happy.
those intros. Look at those intros for each person. That's just awesome. The way this whole trailer kind of played out.
They're all super crisp. Is that Tim Drake? I assume it is, not Damien, because
That's a
obviously
fair question.
I thought it was Damien, even though the staff is
Yeah.
like Tim Drake's thing.
I'm
Let's ask the chat. If anybody in the chat knows if this is Tim Drake or Damian Wayne.
I think I saw someone mention it being Tim, but I'd take that with a grain of salt. I'd have to double check to give a.
There would be a lot more story ideas or story directions if it was Damien. They could do a lot of different things. You know, at the quarter out, especially being in the mission.
That's an exciting arc to go.
Yeah, I mean,
there's that staff you were talking about earlier. That was one of the most exciting parts of the trailer for me. Seeing Nightwing spin around like that.
Yeah.
Introduction. If I do pick up this game, I'll exclusively main Red Hood. Jason,
if you guys get this game, you're gonna be playing with me. We're gonna be getting down. It's co-op. 4 people. We need to pick up one more person, and we're good.
I know. Let's go. Okay, I call dibs on Nightwing, man. I'll be dibs.
And I'm like, we haven't gotten to Suicide Squad because it's the same thing too, man. Like,
all right. So Blackwing 2040 in the chat says it's Tim Drake. The costume makes it look like Damien. He says the website did confirm it's Tim. So
there we go. Hey, good looking out, Blackwing.
Yep. All right. Want to move on to the next game?
Yeah, let's move on to the next one, man.
All right. Let me.
Real quick side note. Speaking of Red Hood, we're not. Are we covering the Titans panel today?
No.
Wait, but I have another comment about Red Hood. So, Titans fans, that was really the only big reveal from the panel. Jason Todd will become Red Hood in Titans season 3. So
interesting. And there was an interesting speculation in the future piece based on an exclusive we had on the site, written by someone named Corbin that kind of called that out a while ago, if I remember right, huh? Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
I'd been hoping it would happen. Looks like it's gonna. I mean, it is gonna. It was confirmed. So I hope they do him justice. My only concern is that Joker's not going to be the one to kill him. And admittedly, I guess that's not a requirement. In the panel, they were talking about going to Gotham. The team's going to go to Gotham, and classic characters from Gotham City that would be in it. I was fully expecting them to be like, we're going to have Joker. He's going to be a relevant part of the story. And they listed off Barbara Gordon, which we all already knew, and then Scarecrow. And part of me wonders if they're going to adapt it and make Scarecrow be the one that puts Jason in the dirt, assuming that they stay true to that. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Exciting times.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on to Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. Now, this game's interesting because it's been rumored for a long time. I remember hearing rumors about a Suicide Squad game literally 3 or 4 years ago. And then more recently, these rumors had transformed into it's going to be a Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League based on, I guess, different domains that were bought or different, trademarks. But it looks like it's actually true. The Suicide Squad is going up against the Justice League, which is a crazy undermatched matchup, right?
That first shot was kind of like a spoiler right there. We know why. Brainiac has taken over or controlling the Justice League somehow. And it's probably, that's probably what happened, because in Superman, when he uses the eye beams, they're purple, which makes us think that being mind controlled by Brainiac at some point. But I love this whole trailer. I love this whole thing. I think it showed zero gameplay, but it showed the characters, their voices, their interactions. The graphics look freaking amazing. I don't know if this is PS5. This has to be PS5, right?
Yeah, I'd assume so. Yeah, because it's not coming out for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that level of detail. It was interesting in the panel. Oh, go ahead, Corbin.
I was just going to mention, it showed on the screen a second ago from the creators of the Arkham games. If I am not mistaken, I understand that this is going to be a continuation of the Arkham series, which is kind of funny to me, just because everyone was expecting Gotham Knights to be that. Right. The only weird thing, I did just a brief bit of digging to confirm that. It looks like Deadshot was in Origins, and if I'm mistaken, don't shoot in the comments. I believe Deadshot was in Origins, and he was the more comics traditional white Caucasian Floyd Lawton. He's obviously very different design here. I love the design, don't get me wrong, but it is. I'll be interested to see if they try and explain that away at all, or they mention it at all.
They're going to keep moving. Watch, they're going to keep moving.
Yeah, keep it moving.
But look at that level of detail, man. I mean, it looks cinematic.
Okay, not to crap all over the Avengers beta Avengers project, but this looks already 10 times better, the graphics do, than the Avengers game.
There's no way that the hype level shouldn't be through the roof for an Avengers game, man. Like, but this looks like where it's at, you know. And the characterizations of each character are spot on too, man. Like,
yeah, it's crazy graphics.
The only one I wasn't digging was King Shark. He's only got a few lines throughout the whole story trailer, and he was giving me like Drax the Destroyer vibes. Honestly,
I agree, Corbin.
Isn't really what I'm looking for in King Shark, but it's just the first trailer. So,
what are you looking for in King Shark?
My most familiar, the version of King Shark I'm most familiar with is the one from the DC Universe animated series, where he is fun and lively and hilarious.
He's kind of a tech guy. He's kind of a tech guy too, right?
Yeah, he is. He's really smart. He obviously has a dark side to him. You know, when there's blood in the water, he loses it, and he can be extraordinarily violent. But he's a lot of fun, and this guy could be fun. It's a different take, just based off this first trailer.
Well, you know, me looking at it right now, it's a co-op game, right? And especially in video games, you have to have your different character types. And he seems like he's definitely the strong man. He's definitely
the Hulk.
Yeah, he's the muscle. He's the Hulk. You know what I mean? So maybe they're just going that direction. It looks like Boomerang is almost like, you know, the speedster. For whatever reason, he's moving really fast. You know, obviously Deadshot's a long-range gun guy. And he can fly. That's interesting. He's kind of like a combination of Firefly and Deadshot. Kind of weird. And of course, Harley is just a standard, you know, melee type of fighter. Another interesting thing that they mentioned in the panel was, which are correct, in the Arkham games, like Gotham, it feels like a real character. It feels like a fully developed city. You know, it just feels like this is a real place. Like you could go, you know, to the first floor to the rooftops, and everything is still geographically in the same spot, and you know where to go. You can find your way around the city like you're driving your own car if you do it for long enough. And they said that they really put a lot of time and effort into making Metropolis, because it takes place in Metropolis, of doing the same type of thing and making Metropolis really come to life and be a character of its own. So it should be interesting to see how they do that, because it looks like a standard city here to me, you know, but maybe it's just, this is only a small part of the city, you know?
Right. I do see like the big skyscrapers in the back. They might just be in a different area. Like you see the big buildings, the nice looking buildings.
Look at that move right there. See that exhaust dome? That's amazing. Apparently that's a move in the game. That's a move in the game actually too.
That's crisp. Yeah, the Deadshot's design was definitely my personal favorite of the bunch. Harley was the only one I wasn't thrilled about Harley. I don't know.
Is it the voice?
Work, but yeah, the voice was a little bit grating, and maybe that's just because I'm used to Haley and Margot Robbie, in their respective adaptations. Yeah, I like the look of her. Wasn't as keen on the dialogue, but I mean, in terms of actual gameplay, I can't imagine that'll be a terribly relevant factor.
Yeah, no. Tara Strong, I love Tara Strong. They should at least maybe get her involved with this. But I kind of agree with you in terms of her voice can get kind of grating if it's like too much of it. But yeah, overall, I think this was kind of like a very cool trailer. There's no gameplay at all. It's all cinematic.
I had a thought. I don't mean to cut you off, TC.
No, go ahead.
But you said this is a sequel to Arkham games, and if Batman's not around, I guess they're not going to kill Batman in the Justice League. He's not going to be part of this.
He's got to be in here.
I heard,
but if it's a sequel, he's gone.
Rumor has it, and these weren't verified. It was not from sources that I necessarily trust, but the rumor floating around on Twitter was that they were going to have Red Robin, Tim Drake, basically be in place of Batman because WB executives were against having Batman killed in any way.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, but they're okay with Superman getting killed.
That's a great question. Do you think they're actually going to kill the Justice League? Like at the end of the game, like, or like, you know, do you progress? Like, do you go first? You kill the Flash, then you kill Green Lantern, then, or are they going to cop out?
If you're going to put it in the title, you got to follow through. I think fans would be disappointed if you don't get the chance to take out at least a few of them. You don't necessarily have to get the whole 7. But
You got to.
I think it's going to be a Tower of Babel situation in which they're not going to go for the kill shot, but they're going to find some way to stop them somehow without the actual kill, and maybe like trap them somehow. That's just my theory.
I think it's a combination. I think they're going to try to kill him, but they're actually too incompetent to actually get the job done, and he just, and then he'll just progress after that. But I mean, it might be really like, I don't know if satisfying is the right word, but it might be interesting to like, see our heroes get taken out. I mean, look at the real world. Like, the good guys have been taking a lot of losses recently, so it might be interesting to see that. Who knows? Look at that logo.
The logo is fantastic. Very crisp.
That's that. Well, do you guys have any final thoughts on Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League?
I mean, I'm hyped to play it. I'm hyped to see how it is. Otherwise, I think it was a pretty cool, cinematic trailer, and a very unique premise of, like you said, the Suicide Squad going after the Justice League, hunting them down one by one. It's something that hasn't been done before, at least through video games, and I like it. I like the whole concept of it.
I think it looks like fun. I've said really all I have to say on the matter. I hope that the gameplay is as fantastic as the cinematic side of it is. That's my concern with the first trailer not showing any gameplay. That does give me a little bit of fear, but I guess we'll see.
Interesting, yeah. Well, that's our coverage on Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League. We'll check it out. Oh, before we go to the next one, this is 4-player co-op once again. So there's 1, 2, 3 here. Maybe you could be the 4th player when I get them to buy the game. So you come on with us and be the 4th player. We're gonna play this in 2 years.
Quest for player 4. Let's go.
Quest for player 4. There you go. Exactly. Let's go. Okay, that's our coverage for Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League, and let's move on. All right. So our next topic that we're going to, we're talking the Suicide Squad. What a smooth transition that was too. You go from Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League just to the straight old Suicide Squad. Except for this is the Suicide Squad, the definitive Suicide Squad, and can't wait. Brief history. James Gunn's directing it. James Gunn got the gig after he was let go from Disney after
being canceled.
After being canceled, I guess wrongly canceled. Eventually, Disney came back and rehired him to do Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but he had already signed with Warner Brothers for the Suicide Squad. So he's making the sequel to the Suicide Squad, which looks like it's indeed a Suicide Squad sequel. But at the same time, it's a redo. What do they call them? Not a reboot. Oh, whatever. It's a reboot and a sequel at the same time.
Soft reboot.
Soft reboot. There's another word for it. Oh, whatever.
Pseudo.
Yeah, it's just one of those cute words, man. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah, but the panel is interesting. And the panel, are you able to bring up the picture of the panel, TC?
Yeah.
It was cool because James Gunn, one of the most charismatic directors you could find. There you go. He led the discussion. He had the entire cast there, left and right in squares. They played a game. They revealed little things about their characters. They told jokes, of course. They clearly, kind of like the Wonder Woman crew, have a clear camaraderie, and many of those people are clearly going to be working with James Gunn once again if they haven't already. He has a way of bringing people back, and it looks like a lot of them are part of the Gunn family now. So with that being said, the Suicide Squad was presented. They did character reveals, and they also gave a behind-the-scenes video. So we'll show all that stuff. These are the new characters and actors who are playing them. There were a lot of questions about who each of these characters were. And the thing is, these are completely obscure DC Comics characters. So it should be a fun time for him to do whatever he wants with them. Corbin, what were your thoughts on the Suicide Squad, my man? What you thought on the panel, actually?
I really enjoyed the panel. I thought it was a super great time. I enjoyed his answering of the fan questions more than any other panel. One thing I wanted to mention in my article covering it, but I didn't get to, he specifically mentioned that he has love for Batmite, who's like a weird, small, just bizarre DC villain. He confirmed that he will not, in fact, be in the film. I really enjoyed the fan Q&A. Seeing the cast reveal that we're watching, the roll call, as they call it, was a lot of fun. I'd be lying if I said I knew who most of the characters were that they revealed, but I loved seeing the images from the comics for the characters that are adaptations. There's a few in here. I know Nathan Fillion's character. I believe Alice Braga's as well.
Wait, time out. You know who 2DK is?
I do not.
Oh, you do not know. My fault.
He's the original character, if I'm not mistaken. And Sol Soria as well for the movie. I did a little bit of digging on each and every one of them. I believe those two are both original characters of the film. But yeah, the costumes look great. Some of them look amazingly accurate to the comics. Peacemaker, John Cena's character in particular, is ripped straight out of the page. So that's fantastic. One interesting thing of note, I would just like to add, Taika Waititi, he is one of the big names confirmed to be in the cast who is not part of the panel. My personal favorite right now is he's probably playing Starro, who we know to be the main villain of the film. That exclusive was confirmed by Splash Report. We had our sources check in on that, and they confirmed it. So the fact that they didn't confirm who the main villain would be and that Taika is missing from the panel, that leads me to believe that maybe we know who he's playing at the end of the day. Maybe not, but we'll see.
I can definitely imagine him voicing a starfish. That makes sense.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. TC.
Yeah. Guys, I think James Gunn is going to bring something really special here with this movie. He's going to Guardians of the Galaxy this movie. He's going to make some of these characters household names after this movie, I think. I know that just seeing John Cena talk about Peacemaker being a douchey Captain America, like that just gets me hyped already, because John Cena is like the perfect person to play a douchey Captain America, and I think John Cena excels at comedy. So it's already like one of my most anticipated, characters that I'm wanting to see. But the overall movie, you can tell the tone is more comic booky. James Gunn is just gonna. He had to fit a talking weasel into this movie. He had to fit some talking critter into this movie with Weasel, and I just think the whole going back to the panel, the cast loves each other. There's camaraderie there. They had fun making this movie. James Gunn brings Michael Rooker from Marvel. That Yondu Dunskies. He's like, come be in the Suicide Squad. So overall, this is probably on my top 2-3 most anticipated DC movies that are going to be coming out. I really dug the whole presentation and just the whole feel and vibe of the movie. It feels so much different than that first movie.
Yeah, he brought John Cena. Oh, you know what? Wasn't Batista supposed to be in this originally, if I remember right?
I don't know if he was ever confirmed. I know he was heavily rumored for it.
Yeah, I think it seems like if that was true, it seems like he would be up for Peacemaker originally.
That makes sense.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Oh, Weasel. I'm excited for Weasel. That's probably the character I'm excited for the most. I mean, look at that guy. And I don't know, they had a brief shot in him. We'll see it later in the future.
And he made it his brother too. Sean Gunn is Weasel.
Hey, it's perfect. He's great at the motion cap. He is Rocket Raccoon, even though he doesn't get the credit for it.
Amen. Yeah, TC, you briefly mentioned the first film. I'd just like to throw this out there. I still personally would like to see the first film in its true cut. We got the Snyder cut.
You want the air cut.
The air cut exists. We know I wasn't interested in it until it was revealed that all it needs is some final VFX touches. One thing that we'll see in the sneak peek in just a moment is James Gunn makes a point, I think, in that sneak peek to say that he is excited to see it in the way that the Suicide Squad could be done, in his opinion. He kind of makes the point that there's another take on it out there. I would very much like to see it. Release the air cut. We know you have it, Warner Brothers. Just give it to us.
Well, I'm 1,000% behind you. I mean, if you look at David Ayer's other works, the Suicide Squad totally sticks out like a sore thumb. And we know kind of what was going on during that time at Warner Brothers. They're meddling in all their different DC projects aside from Wonder Woman, and even they tried to with that with the third act. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, they butchered that. They butchered Batman vs Superman. They butchered the Justice League. That whole era, they were just really meddling in things. I mean, everyone knows about the story about how they rehired the trailer editors to recut his cut of the movie. Now, David Ayer, he makes street movies. I mean, you look at aside from Fury, which is a gritty World War movie. I mean, his movies are street movies, and they're character based. They're really character based. So it's when you're watching that movie, it's clear that that's not his vision. If you remember even the first trailer, I don't want to sing the song, but with Harley Quinn doing ballet in her cell and the really
Sing it.
Creepy nut. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going. There's not enough people that can make me do it. But, but I mean, it was a different tone movie. It was clearly a different tone movie. It was clearly, you know, influenced more by street crime. I mean, you know, they took the mob aesthetic and turned it to modern street crime aesthetics. And there is a cut of that, its original vision out there, and it would be interesting to see it. And I bet you HBO Max would be a great place to get it. I mean, it won't cost them much to re-edit the movie. We know that there's a million Joker scenes on the cutting room floor, so there was a beeline plot to the movie that's not there. So, hey, I'm 100% behind you with that.
I mean, I agree with both of you guys. I would like to see it too, and just because that first Comic-Con trailer that we saw, where it had like the jewelry box kind of rewind sound with the WB logo, right? Like, that trailer is dark, and then Joker when he's doing his thing where he's like, "I'm not gonna hurt you, or I'm not gonna kill you. I'm just gonna hurt you really, really bad." Like, it was a really hype trailer, and the movie just didn't translate. Like, WB went in there, they meddled with stuff, they Justice Leagued the Ayer cut pretty much. I mean, I still would have had problems with making like Enchantress the main villain, but we don't know like how it could have been if Ayer got to do like his dark version, because they totally changed the kind of like vibe of that movie halfway in.
I mean, you know, oh, go ahead.
That first trailer, 100%. I watched it, I rewatched it in anticipation of this panel, and it's a totally different vibe than the film itself. I also think that releasing it on HBO Max before this film makes it its August release date would be amazing promotion for this movie. If you, it would be foolish not to, if you ask me, because this looks fantastic. It also looks very different. So I think WB is out there afraid to release it because they were detract from this film. In my opinion, it would do nothing but boost the popularity, boost the ticket sales for James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. So
they don't want to admit failure. That's why they don't want to release it.
That's where you're wrong, though. That's where you're wrong. Like, or actually, you're right and wrong, because I think Warner Brothers doesn't want to admit failure, but AT&T, who owns them now, is like, let's make that money. That's how the Snyder Cut came out.
I mean, look at what's happening with Snyder. Yeah, 100%
the
right.
multiverse in general. You know, they're like, yo, we can make money by making multiple Batman films? Well, shit. And I don't blame them, you know?
Yeah, so Ruth Brady in the chat here, I don't know if you saw that comment, Bragg. She said, do the aerial act and sing for us.
You know, I did see that, and I just tried to ignore it, but I appreciate it, and let's see what happens. So, like, our coverage of this isn't over yet, so I might get inspired. You never know. You never know.
You have those hanging door frame things with you do pull-ups or sit-ups on, right?
I do. Yeah, I do. Oh, there's Weasel. There's my shot I was looking for right there. He is going to be a fan favorite. I can't wait to see what comes out with that, man. Another interesting thing that I liked from the panel, too, was how he described the movie. He said he went and pulled the most obscure characters he could. I actually did know about Batmite, too. And it seems like he actually, like, initially was going to put him in the movie. I just couldn't find a way to fit him in. So that's interesting, you know? But I like, what I wasn't expecting was how he said he's combining it with the 1970s war film feel. Kind of like if you look at the poster, the Apocalypse, it's a riff on Apocalypse Now. So with all this bright colors and comedy, and you know, it looks obviously it's probably going to be rated R. There might be some real grit, there might be some real drama behind it too, behind the comedy and ridiculousness, because you know, war films of the 70s weren't jokes. So you know, it's interesting that he'd want to blend those two kind of almost polar opposite feels. Now, another thing I want to talk about, Peacemaker. You guys like Peacemaker? I think he looks retarded.
I love him.
I think you guys.
He's supposed to look cheese. He's supposed to look cheese, dude. I think
Black Wing just said, I already know Polka Dot Man ain't gonna make it to the end. I'll bet you he makes it to the end. I bet you that Polka Dot Man is in the next movie. I bet you.
You know, I looked up like Polka Dot Man's powers, and the dude has pretty much an infinity gauntlet on his suit. Like each polka dot, each color has like a different power. It's crazy. So I would put money on Polka Dot lasting with his powers.
I wasn't aware he had that kind of power level. But yeah, regarding Peacemaker, I like it. It's cheesy, it's corny, it's over the top. I think that's by design, though. And in reading up on the character, he's an absolute nutcase. He starts out as a pacifist, if I understand correctly, and effectively has a mental breakdown and starts killing people in the name of peace, despite his past as a pacifist. He's it seems to me to just be absolutely insane. And I think him wearing a big metal dome on his head, aluminum foil tin hat, so to speak, I think that reflects that. I dig it.
It's interesting. They brought up a random trivia question. They asked who had their own comic series out of these people that they listed, and they said Peacemaker was one. Actually, I'd never read it. He seems like he would make a really good if you put him in like a real grounded, gritty movie. Like you can make a real movie out of Peacemaker's movie. Like it sounds like it could touch on a lot of things going on now. Like seems like an interesting character. We'll see what happens in the actual movie.
Yeah, another note on Peacemaker. Do either I still haven't watched season 1, but The Boys, that Amazon original. Do you know when season 3 is set to release? If it even has a release date?
No, I mean season 2 hasn't even started airing yet. Yeah, but I have seen the first 3 episodes of season 2 already. So holler at me if you want to know a little something.
They didn't announce what's it called, Jensen Ackles as Soldier Boy, which is also another spoof of Captain America. So I don't know how close to Peacemaker he's going to be. Because
that's exactly what I was getting at. So
yeah,
get two interesting riffs on the Captain America archetype, and pretty close. So it'll be interesting to see how they stack up to each other.
Then you'll get Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and you get more Captain America. The spirit of Captain America is real.
I know, right? With U.S. Agent, that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
U.S. Agent and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Falcon.
Yeah. We might get a Homelander vibe too from what's his name, Peacemaker. He might even go that direction.
I mean, yeah, we got to keep in mind none of these people are good guys. These are all bad guys. It's bad versus evil. And one thing I wanted to bring up, and I don't want to get into it too deep, but one thing that does concern me, and it has nothing to do with the panel, it has more to do with the story that was broken about Starro. I was hoping that they weren't going against something hugely supernatural. I didn't want them to go against the Justice League. I didn't want them to go against the magician. I didn't want them to go against an alien. So that's the one thing that's
the mistake they made in the first movie with Enchantress.
Correct. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. If there are other minor antagonists that they have to come up against from the world of DC Comics. I really hope that, because what I wanted from a Suicide Squad movie is what he said it is, a Dirty Dozen movie combined with a comic book movie. That's Suicide Squad. So it sounds like he knows what he's doing. So I'm excited about it. I think it sounds like they're going the right direction. We'll just see how they execute,
Right. We have a question. See if anybody knows this on the panel. Question about the rating of the film. Does James have it in his contract that he will get his rating for the Suicide Squad versus the studios?
I would doubt not. It's not like he has infinite power, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that they were okay to rated R movie. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Flula Borg mentions exploding genitals in this clip. I know we have the audio turned off. I don't know how you're going to blow up genitals and land a PG-13. So my assumption is it's going to be an R rating, especially because Birds of Prey was right. It looks like maybe even Batman might be. Obviously, we don't know for certain yet, but I would be shocked if the Suicide Squad got a PG-13 rating.
Also, you can imagine coming from James Gunn perspective, why would you want to do another PG-13 superhero team-up movie when he could? I want to do something different. If I'm going to do another team-up movie, let's make it something really different, go balls to the wall. And if you know Gunn's real background, he's a rated R guy. He comes from Trauma. Trauma is the company that made, the Toxic Avenger, just the most ridiculous comedy.
You would just want DC to be like, James Gunn, no restrictions, bro. Rated R. Here you go. Do your thing. Do James Gunn, right?
I think you.
Take the gloves off.
And that's the beauty of the multiverse that they're developing, that they could actually have rated R movies where other big superhero franchises are still scared to pull that trigger. So they're Marvel. Yeah, I like them all. So but they're giving themselves more flexibility to do more things. So hey, I'm excited. I can't wait. I can't wait to see more. I want to see the regular full teaser trailer. Let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm hyped about this movie.
All right. Well, that's it for the Suicide Squad for the DC Fandom post wrap-up show. We're going to keep moving on to the next topic. And the next one coming up is Shazam.
Whoops. Forgot to show these posters.
Actually, you can leave. Those are the new posters that they debuted recently.
Yeah.
Those are all the characters. That looks really cool. It actually,
colors, man. Colors pop.
I can't lie. It kind of brings to mind the first Suicide Squad movie too, for some reason. Not the logo, but just the colors, and it feels connected. It feels connected. Yeah. All right. Shazam 2. So they had a panel for Shazam, and in the panel, it was hosted by Zachary Levi.
Levi.
And there was a running joke in the panel that they were there, but they couldn't reveal anything because they hadn't started shooting. It was still so far away, which is true. They're not looking to start shooting until next year, as Corbin broke here on the Illuminerdi. But obviously far in planning and pre-production, and they seem to have a direction. So by the end of the panel, they revealed a couple of surprises, including the title and a mysterious guest. So let's go to you first, TC. What did you think about the panel?
I thought the panel was okay. I really didn't think we're gonna get a lot of big reveals from this panel, just because you said they hadn't really started much of anything. The panel was just all right. You know, they were just having fun with each other. When Sinbad showed up, I just laughed because I knew about the Mandela effect. Like, I know all about that, and how, you know, I, and me included, I thought there was a movie called Shazam with Sinbad in it.
You did too?
Yes, I literally still think that. I think like there's a TC Prime living on a different reality where that didn't exist, and I don't know. But I thought that was funny that he showed up. I think he might actually be in the movie. Like, I think that it's not just like a gag or something like that.
No, I would put money on it that he's in the movie.
Yeah. But overall, you know, we didn't really get a lot of this except for like the screen shows here the name of the movie, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. But it was kind of a letdown for me personally.
There we go. And Corbin, you know a lot about the Shazam world and covering this and following this a lot. What did you think about the panel, man?
It was fun. So I was in the same boat as TC in the sense that I wasn't expecting a lot from it. But another DC movie in the same kind of world as Shazam that has started filming, Black Adam, right? Despite that, Black Adam was able to give us not one, but 2 animated teasers. And part of me was kind of hoping we would get something like that for Shazam! Fury of the Gods. And we didn't. And that's fine. Don't get me wrong. As early as it is, or as far as it is away from its release date, rather, things could still be in flux. They could still be making new story decisions, changing the script up here and there. You know what I mean? So it didn't blow me away by any means, but I dug the title for one, Fury of the Gods. I think it's got a nice ring to it. Regarding Sinbad, his appearance was hilarious. The only movie I know Sinbad from is this Christmas flick back in the 90s, maybe early 2000s, Jingle All the Way.
Classic.
It was kind of bizarre having only seen him in that otherwise. I hope he's in the movie. Honestly, I think it would be kind of lame of them to have him be a part of this panel and then have him not be in the movie. Just a little fan cast from me. I think he would make an awesome Talkie Tawny. There's this anthropomorphic tiger. There is a DC animated short. It's called Superman / Shazam, or the Return of Black Adam. And Talkie Tawny in that, he's this kind of weird homeless guy that shows up at the beginning of it, and then later in it, they reveal that he's a magic tiger, and I think Sinbad would be perfect for something like that. So yeah, not everything I hoped for, but I wasn't entirely disappointed with it. We got some good stuff.
Well, hey, welcome to the Sinbad breakdown, because we're about to get into it. All right, so for your generation before you, Sinbad was a huge comedian. Like he was like the Jim Gaffigan of his day. So is that probably fair? Like, you know, he was like a clean comedian, but like he was on a different world. He was in movies. He was on TV. He was a really big comedian in the 80s and 90s. He was a really clean comedian. And it's funny that you bring up Tony Talkins because he looks like a tiger. So I think you're onto something. My initial thought was he's definitely in the movie, because you think about it, why he has to sign a contract to be making money to be on there on the panel. He wouldn't just appear like this. It's not like he's working that regularly where he could, he needs to be in a big movie. You know what I mean? You got to pay the bills. So I think Tony Talking is actually a great idea. My first thought was that he was going to be like a high school coach for the kids, or work at the foster home, or I don't know, something like that. But actually, man, and he's not that mobile anymore. So it makes 100% sense that he'd be Tawny. Oh, that's perfect for him, man. Like, I think you're onto something there, buddy. I think you're onto something. I would be 100% shocked if he's not in the movie though, because there's no reason for him to be there if not. It's too random.
It's too random.
It's
even though the
it,
Shazam name kind of makes sense and the whole Mandela effect, it's still like
we're saying, it's a joke for a generation beyond. You know what I mean? So like,
right. Shout out to House Guest, by the way.
House Guest. Shout out the first kid. So yeah, no doubt. But so this is another thing I want to talk about: Fury of the Gods. Now, I'll be straight up because I always like to let people know what my perspective is. Shazam wasn't my favorite DC movie. I was disappointed by it because I thought like the idea of having a superhero movie slashed with big is an amazing idea. And for me, a lot of it was too cartoony for me. Like his suit was too cartoony. Like, and that was another shocking thing. Seeing how slim Levi is right now, like, and then I was just imagining, oh, you need that suit on. I get it now, you know? Like, it felt like
I like Black Adam, who doesn't need anything really.
Man, yeah, real, you know? But yeah, I mean, I think that Fury of the Gods is a strong title for a lighthearted franchise so far. So I wonder if that is indicating that it's going to get a little bit more hardcore, a little bit more thunderous. Who knows?
Right, and we don't even know if. Well, actually, I wouldn't say he's not referring to his Shazam family as being the gods, right? It's literally some different type of foe, maybe. We don't know anything about the movie, so it could be anything.
Yeah.
I mentioned in my article just covering Shazam. I think it's possible that the gods in question would be. I'm going to try and list them up. I think Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, maybe Achilles, and then Mercury. Don't quote me on Achilles. That's the only one I'm not confident in. But in keeping with DCEU canon, assuming they're worried about that this time, Zeus was obviously killed off in Wonder Woman by Ares, along with the Greek pantheon. So it'll be interesting who these gods are, if it is possibly the Shazam family or a different pantheon. And yeah, I enjoyed the movie, don't get me wrong, Prax, but I totally hear you about it being a little bit more cartoonish, a little bit more lighthearted than I was maybe looking for. So if it's going to be titled Fury of the Gods, I would expect at least somewhat more serious tone in the
I don't think it's going to be or have a serious tone. I think it's going to be right in line with the first movies because that's just Shazam as a character or how they want to portray him. I think it's going to be kind of goofy like the first movie, but actually the first movie, if you think about it, it started out really dark with what was the name of the villain? Dr. Savannah.
Yeah.
And his backstory, and how he came in and he like just killed all of the employees at that office or whatever. Like it started out really dark, but then it kind of got goofy after that. But I mean, go ahead.
David Sandberg's a horror director, so like they did have those elements, and I wasn't expecting a hardcore movie. It was just, it was just too forgettable after I left. That was the only thing for me. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, hey. I guess those are our thoughts on Shazam, Fury of the Gods. We'll have a lot more to talk about when there's a lot more to talk about. I do think they could have had some concept art or something that they could have shared with us, but hey, they're lost, We would have talked about their movie more. Shoot. You know what I mean? All right. Well, that's our coverage for Shazam, Fury of the Gods. And thanks for joining us. Let's move on to our next topic. In our next movie that we're discussing from DC Fandome is Black Adam. Got to go one to the other. Now, this is interesting. This movie has probably been in development the longest out of any movie that we're talking about here.
2010, right? Or was it even earlier than that?
He's been Black Adam for a long time, So it's been a long time coming. We've been covering this project very closely since the beginning of the year. Corbin's been able to break a lot of good stories on it for the Illuminerdi, from Dr. Fate to we broke Cyclone earlier, to who else did we break on here? Adriana. There's a lot of different stuff going on here, and a lot of different characters, and a lot of things that we've already been able to kind of get a sneak peek at. So first, let's talk about the panel. What did you think about the presentation of The Rock, one-on-one with just The Rock and you talking
I
to
love
you?
The Rock, man, and that's coming from like a lifelong WWE fan. Like I watched him in wrestling too, but I mean I loved him in wrestling, but I've never been a fan of his movie work, just because I think The Rock tends to fall under that Will Smith category where he's just playing himself in most movies. Baywatch, San Andreas. He's just kind of like The Rock most of the time, and that was kind of like my fear with him being cast as Black Adam. Like, is he gonna dive and delve into this, character, or are we gonna get, the cheeky, smirky, grinning Rock, the wink to the camera Rock? But no, like after watching this panel and watching like him, talk about, Black Adam being a slave and talking about, how relentless he's going to be and how just overall about the character, it tells me that one, he loves the character, he knows a lot about the character, and he's going to try and make the fans happy at all costs. And just him, The Rock is a hype man. The Rock is a great showman, and him like hyping up, towards the end of the panel, like Wonder Woman, Superman, Flash, he didn't say Green Lantern, but whatever. He's like, you guys, have no idea what power is, or he said something like that. Wait till I come. Like, I thought his delivery and the presentation was fantastic, really, and it kind of lessened the doubts of cringe Rock acting that I had, and I think he's gonna kill it.
There you go, Corbin. What are your thoughts on the presentation of the panel?
I loved it. It was the panel I was looking forward to more than anything else the whole day, just because I have been able to follow this story and to bring exclusives to the fans for quite some time now. I've developed a real love for Black Adam, and listening to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson talk about it, it reminded me of Ryan Reynolds with Deadpool. This is a guy who has wanted to bring this character to the big screen for so long. It's a passion project of his. He's poured his heart and soul into it, and he's dedicated to making the most faithful, the most stunning, and the most intense adaptation he possibly can. So, even though it was mostly just him in the panel, we had a brief appearance from Noah Centineo. You can hear every word, every line of dialogue, both in the trailers, in his answering of the fan questions. You can tell how deeply passionate he is about this character. And another thing I loved about it is it doesn't look like they're going to hold back at all with how brutal Black Adam is. Because, for people who are familiar with him in the source material, this is a guy with the powers of Shazam, and arguably, and then some, whose sense of justice is very much his own. He's very much an anti-hero who's willing to do whatever he needs to protect his country, to protect his friends, and to protect his family. He's brutal. He's ripped someone in half on live television. In the World War III comic, I believe Jeff Johns did it from back in the day. He takes people out left and right. He has no remorse about killing, at least initially, And I'm looking forward to seeing hopefully some of the best action in the DCU in this movie. And these trailers and this whole panel made me think that's what we're going to get. It blew me away.
So, again, I'm going to be a little bit of a contrarian. I was expecting a little bit more than just The Rock sitting there. They did have the special guest of Noah Centineo coming in and kind of confirming that he's Atom Smasher. And what was actually cool was we'll see it eventually again in the video of the concept art of Atom Smasher smashing, which is dope. But I've been hearing The Rock talk about, I'm coming for Superman. I'm coming for Wonder Woman for 10 years, man. He's been saying that for 10. I have Instagram posts. I remember writing an article in my old website in 2014 about him working out for Black Adam, and he had a Superman shirt on. Everyone's like, "Oh, The Rock is fighting Superman." I'm sure it's happening.
Henry,
another 10 years.
Henry Cavill is like signed on to his like production team, right?
Henry Cavill's manager is The Rock's ex-wife.
Right. I think I have a theory that The Rock really wants to have Henry Cavill's Superman be in his movie, and that he wants to battle him on screen. And I think he's trying to do everything behind the scenes to get that done, and kind of keep Henry as Superman in DCU. I think he dropped some tea leaves here in this whole answering questions thing, and I think he's dropping hints, in my opinion.
I think that it's more likely than unlikely that we'll get a Henry Cavill Superman cameo. Just my speculation, but from the hints of it, from the management team being the same, to them being friends in real life, it just makes sense to Henry Cavill. Like, because another interesting thing about the DC fandom, the day was everyone was expecting some kind of a Superman update, and there was no Superman updates, right?
Broke a lot of hearts.
Yeah, but Henry Cavill is jacked right now, and he's getting ready for something. So it would make sense for him to cameo in it. And why would The Rock even tease us like that about the other characters? You know what I mean? And there has to be another reason to intrigue us other than the JSA. I mean, there just has to be. You know, I'm not as excited about the project as you guys. And I guess it's from my just exposure to this like behind the scenes stuff so far. I just hope that the tone is kind of handled well. It seems like there's a lot of different stuff going on. There's like a lot of younger characters, there's older characters, there's mentors, and it's always for me a delicate balancing act when you are dealing with an anti-hero or having an anti-hero the center of your film. And it's going to be impossible for The Rock to not be a hero at the end of the movie, because
I hope not.
He's The Rock. I mean, right? Like we're not going to see him tear somebody in half. I mean, I would love it, but it looks like from the concept art, we'll see him electrocute a lot of people. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's interesting.
He knows people are watching him. He knows that diehard fans are watching him, and he, like I said, he was dropping hints in there. He's like, I know, Black Adam's supposed to be, this relentless person, and I will give you what you want. So we'll see. And a lot of people, Black Adam, they only know Black Adam as a villain. They don't know him as the anti-hero. So, like I said, Rock has a hard job.
Yeah. Another question: it's obviously Black Adam, and then this is Justice Society of America. Who are they going up against? Who's powerful, more powerful than all of them?
It's going to be the Justice Society going against Black Adam, in my opinion. Like, it's going to be them going at each other, maybe.
Based off the animated trailer for the JSA, I'd have to respectfully disagree. I mean, they definitely make it sound like they're going to be working together. There's a line. He's like, "I have a knack for destroying bullies. The Justice Society of America thinks I need help," or something along those lines. And I figure there'll be an initial confrontation.
Right.
But I think I'd be surprised if that was the main conflict was Black Adam versus the JSA. The challenging thing, though, to answer that question is the fact that neither Black Adam nor the Justice Society of America have a particularly well-known or famous rogues gallery that they consistently battle. I mean, the JSA often battles Nazis. Black Adam often battles Shazam, and we know it's been confirmed that Black Adam and Shazam won't cross over until either Black Adam 2 or Shazam 3 at the earliest. Although I think a post-credit scene's well within the realm of possibility.
Sure.
So that's a good question. I mean, while this would be a dream come true, it's probably highly unlikely. I think it would be amazing to see the main conflict be, say, Black Adam going after Superman and the JSA basically trying to explain to him why that's a terrible idea, or Superman is a good idea. But then again, you already kind of have that idea in BVS, so it's a good question. I wish I had a better answer for it, but I don't know.
This movie takes place like before Superman, though, right? In the past.
Well, it takes, or the rumors are, and what we've been able to gather is it takes place in two time periods. One, it takes place a long time ago with an older JSA,
right?
Then it takes place in the modern time with the new JSA. I think the older JSA put him away. That's how he gets put away, and then the modern one. Those are the rumors. Okay. And then he wakes up again in modern time, and it's a new JSA. Maybe like Dr. Fate still, because he's immortal, right? So he's still alive, but like it's a new version of the JSA. And then they teach him how to be a kinder, nicer, more gentler hero. I'm excited. Kind of.
I think an interesting route they could take it would be to loosely adapt the Black Rain storyline. And again, there's another thing that I'd like to see, but is probably unlikely. What if there isn't one main antagonist of the film? Maybe it is two different sects of the JSA. Maybe Black Adam is able to get Hawkman and Atom Smasher on his side to go retake Kahndaq like they do in the comics, and then those who oppose him from taking over the country, and maybe another sect of the Justice Society trying to prevent that from happening.
It's interesting you bring that up. I don't remember why I remember this, but I feel like there's supposed to be friction between him and Hawkman in the movie. I don't remember why I remember this. There's supposed to be friction between those two. So with your thinking, that actually might make sense, though. Who knows?
Also, I think The Rock did mention that he goes up against Atom Smasher, and the Atom Smasher is it's like 10 times his size. Or they had like a little playful banter between the two when they were on the camera together. So yeah, they definitely have some type of confrontation at first, and like Corbin said, they might not be the direct villains in the movie, but maybe they just could be keeping that secret still. Who the main guy is.
No doubt. But yeah, I guess you do have to have, it would make sense for Black Adam has to fight all the individual JSA members just so you could get an idea of their own power sets too against him. So you can kind of see they're badasses too, or he's the ultimate badass, however they do it,
So Ruth in the chat, she says, it was really interesting to see an illustrated trailer. I wonder how many people will adapt that concept in the future. Yeah. They did this in the beginning of, what movie was it? Where they started with like an illustration. Was it Zack Snyder's Justice League? Or was it Wonder Woman? Where they were just giving exposition. I think it was Wonder Woman. Well, and they were explaining the mascara.
Well, they've done that in Black Panther. They're doing a lot of different stuff,
Yeah.
Jonah Hex is in the movie.
No, but it is interesting. I mean, they haven't shot anything, so they don't have any footage. It's an interesting way of just presenting the concept art, because that's essentially what this is. It's just concept art put in story form. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's yeah, we'll see. Hopefully those, that's what I'm waiting for. That looks really cool. And if you take a look at some of our older stories, there's actually a piece that Corbin did write about some of the things we found out, and that scene actually might line up with one of the things we reported on right there. So hey, that looks awesome. You guys have any more feelings? Do you have any more feelings about Black Adam?
Another comment on the illustrated trailer. I could be mistaken on this. I believe it was Boss Logic and Jim Lee who teamed up to make that, like they did that first piece of concept art we saw. Personally, I would love to see more teasers like this in the future, especially for films that are a long ways out, but they want to start building hype for. If you can get artists of that caliber to get it done, why not?
Right. Do this for like Aquaman 2, like they should have done something like this, and also Shazam 2. They could have did something like this as well instead of just like nothing,
I'm shocked we didn't see concept art for Aquaman. Aquaman 2 in there. Yeah, absolutely. Marvel has a different technique of doing that. That's actually, if you think about it, they release the movie and then they have their concept artists leak out alternative concept art that they have after the movie's out. You guys really or notice that little trend they do, and you'll get like, oh, this is what could have been cast, or this is
all
what
the fans are like, oh, they should have went with this concept art instead of what they actually went with, right?
There was Venom art that was released, I think, just earlier today. Just reminding people that Venom, Let There Be Carnage, is still a thing.
Still a thing. That's another movie that's in the canon, just waiting to go. But all right, well, Black Adam. Hopefully, they start shooting. Hopefully soon is the rumors. And hopefully start getting real footage soon, and then my worries can be set away, and I can get on board with you guys.
Hopefully.
There you go. All right, that's Black Adam with DC Fandome, and let's get on to the next topic. All right, so here at DC Fandome, the next show that we wanted to cover was film project is The Flash.
Whoops.
It's all good. Boom. So at the Flash panel, they had Andy Muschietti. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. They had Ezra Miller. Essentially lead the discussion with Ezra Miller doing weird questions and answers, and cutting away to the director who gave like it would cut from Ezra Miller giving weird questions and answers to the director giving like really important information about the characters and his thoughts about the movie. So it was a really interesting dichotomy between the two. But the first thing that obviously came to mind is Ezra Miller is the Flash still. So we could put all that other stuff to rest with the side controversies and everything else
So he's
going on.
not canceled. Yeah.
He is not canceled. WB put him up there front and center. They wanted it to be known that he's still on board. And it's interesting because I guess he's had a long ride too. I mean, he tried to write a version of this film himself with who's the writer he was writing with?
Writer.
A good writer, like Grant Morrison or someone. Someone really yeah, someone really good. I mean, like, so he's been invested in this movie for a long time. So it's interesting that he's still in it. He's not when I close my eyes, he's not what I imagined as the Flash, but I can't wait to see what happens. And it's going to be interesting also to see where the Snyder Cut takes the character to other ways. So it'll be interesting to see when the Flash starts where this character is. So what you guys think about the Flash panel? What you think, Corbin?
It was cool. It's a movie I've got some real mixed feelings about. On the one hand, you know, I'm in the same boat as you. When I close my eyes and I picture, you know, the Flash, Barry Allen, it's not Ezra Miller. And admittedly, part of that was because his performance in Justice League disappointed me very deeply. But I mean, that whole movie was a mess. You know, maybe the Snyder Cut will change my opinion on that. I'm not sure. Another thing that I've got kind of weird feelings about is I'm excited to see Ben Affleck return in the movie. That was exciting news. I'm not interested in Keaton in the movie, you know, and this was the closest we've had to an official confirmation of it, is this piece of concept art clearly featuring his version of the character. I like Batman 89 just fine. You know, it's not my favorite. I was never asking to see more Keaton Batman. They haven't sold me. I have no reason to. I don't know what he's going to bring to the film that couldn't be done by Jeffrey Dean Morgan's Thomas Wayne or Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne. It's a bizarre story.
He's there for member guys, member this, member that.
Berries.
Member berries. That's why he's there.
So I mean, with that being the kind of the biggest reveal of that panel, I can't say it blew me away. I think the new suit looks cool based on the concept art there. That being said, I thought the one in Justice League already looked pretty clean. I didn't need a redesign. So it was a mixed bag for me.
There we go. CC, what are your thoughts on the panel?
I'll piggyback off of the comment about the suit, because I think the suit looks 10 times better. I was never a fan of the Justice League design where it looks like it was held together by strings. I love the form-fitting Flash suit, and then I even like that it glows a little bit, but please just let's not Green Lantern this Flash suit, okay? Let's not have it go overboard with the glowing red or glowing yellow lights. But I like the form-fitting, suit way better than, like I said, the design from Justice League. When it comes to this whole Flashpoint thing, my take is very unpopular because I like to think as like ourselves, right, the dedicated fans, but then I also like to think as the casual fan, because both kind of need to coexist for this movie to make a lot of money and be successful in terms of box office. And I just think that the casual fan is not going to get the multiverse. I think they're going to be asking way too many questions in this movie, like why is Michael Keaton there? I thought Ben Affleck was Batman. And there's even like if they rumored to bring in like an older Thomas Wayne, Jeffrey Dean Morgan Batman, they're gonna be like, who is that? Why is the Batman killed? Why does he have red eyes? It's just a whole multiverse thing. I know that DC's that they failed already with their, trying to build a cinematic universe like the MCU did. So they are doing the opposite now. They're gonna go this whole multiverse route. Let's have a Joker origin movie that doesn't exist anywhere here. Let's do the Matt Reeves Batman, just have that over there. And let's also continue this DCEU. But then, oh my God, we can do TV. Oh my God, we can cross over TV with the movies. So they are throwing everything they can at the wall, and they're going to see what sticks. And I just think that's going to confuse the casual viewer. So I don't know how successful these movies are going to be going forward. I don't know if nostalgia goggles are going to make the dollars in terms of seeing an old Keaton Batman in it. But yeah, I mean, those are my overall thoughts on not only the Flashpoint movie, but just the whole multiverse thing moving forward.
Yeah, no, those are great comments. All right, well, first things first. The suit. Your comment, TC, is spot on about the worry. I didn't think about it as much, but how do you not do that suit in CGI, like complete CGI? Like, it's going to be interesting to see that actually come to life. Yeah, I mean, that looks really CGI. I mean, have you guys seen the old concept where it's actual suit that was made for Nicolas Cage for Superman, that Superman suit that glowed, that had lights in it? Did you guys see that movie? John Snap's movie about, the
The
death of
death of
Superman.
Superman Lives, yeah.
Exactly. Like, I hope they can. I mean, maybe I just can't imagine it. But one thing that does actually give me a lot of confidence is the director. I mean, he's an amazing director. He makes like solid, real films. He makes fantastical things, really grounded. I mean, you guys have probably seen it. It seems like actually a weird match of like material to director. Also, he never kind of struck me as like a comic book guy, but like when he was talking about the material and understanding Ben Affleck's Batman and how he sees him bringing like the masculinity of Batman into it. He seems to really understand not only the comics, but really like what's been going on with the DCEU recently. So that gives me a little bit of confidence. Keaton. I'm just as nervous about that as you guys. The original Batman movie, like helped spark my love of comics and comic book movies in general as a kid. But going back to watch it, it's definitely a dated movie. I didn't need that, but there are different Batman in this movie, obviously. So we'll see. And actually, someone actually had an interesting comment about the Flash that I hope he runs properly this time. I hope he runs properly as well too. Like, I don't know what was going on, but he didn't look like he could move really fast doing this action.
It's like he's an ice figure skater. You know how there's kind of exaggerated movements.
Yeah, TC, what you said about fear that the general audience may not be able to wrap their head around and fully embrace the multiverse. I think there's one key factor that we have to consider here, and it's the reason I think people are going to be on board with it. That's the fact that Doctor Strange 2 in the Multiverse of Madness is currently slated to release just a few months before. And if the Disney Plus shows are as big of a hit as I imagine they will be, with Loki and WandaVision both leading into that, I think that's going to be a massive success, potentially $1 billion movie. And if that, I mean, that it's got multiverse in the title, right? So I think people can be well acquainted with it by the time that this film comes out. My other thing about it being a Flashpoint adaptation that kind of bugs me is that it's a Flashpoint adaptation that feels like in name only. It's not going to feature the Amazonian Atlantis War, allegedly. It's not going to feature a Thomas Wayne Batman. And as a fan of that storyline, to me, you're removing the two best parts of Batman I don't care about anymore. I don't understand why they would do that, but they're gonna. So
yeah, it was interesting you bring that up because actually we've been covering this like behind the scenes a lot too. And you mentioned Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and we were actually going to report on the news that he was still up for Thomas Wayne as late as, was it April or May, right? He was still up. And there was a whole another alternate version of the film that they were about to go ahead with, where it was more comic book. I mean, we don't know what the actual story was, but it seemed more comic book accurate, where they were bringing back Lauren Cohen and they were bringing back Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and he would. I mean, he's even been in the news recently saying, "Oh, Keaton stole my role," basically, So they are flipping it on its head. But I do think it's interesting. I mean, I think that slowly they're conditioning the public, and it's not just DC, it's Marvel also, about what a multiverse is. I mean, even before Doctor Strange, I think Endgame did a lot to do that. And if you think about how comic book movies have evolved, about every 5 years, they introduce a huge another concept to the general public and make them understand it, right? So like when Iron Man came out, they were like, yeah, Iron Man, but like multiple heroes in one movie? I don't know about that. People that fly? I don't know about that, So then they gave him Thor, right? And then, you go piece by piece. Then you give them Avengers. Oh, people can team up, right? And now we expect people to team up in movies. So these concepts in time travel, like they would never touch time travel in Marvel because that made things too convoluted. Well, now they introduced that in Doctor Strange. And so they slowly introduce these new concepts and they slowly indoctrinate people so the general public can kind of follow along. And I think that by the time this comes around, people will understand. And more to the point, because I mean, if you think about it, by that time we'll have a Snyder cut, we'll have the Batman, and then we'll have this. So there will already be multiple things. And if people like Batman, people will like Batman. Now, like I said, I'm not excited about seeing, a 65-year-old Keaton unless he's doing Batman Beyond. And what's interesting about this multiverse idea and the rumors about this movie is that Keaton is using this to propel him to stay in the DCU. And people have even heard rumors that he's the Batman of the DCU after this, which is scary to think about, to be honest with you. But I mean,
scary.
If it leads to a Batman Beyond movie, that's perfect casting. That's the perfect start. That's where I'd want to go. But they got a lot on their plate. And for fans of the Flash himself, I feel a little bit bad for them. Hopefully, like they really keep it centered. He mentioned that the film will still be still a Barry Allen centered film. I'm sure like even both Batmans, whether it's Keaton or Affleck, they're gonna have smaller roles. Neither of them are gonna have more than 15, 20 minutes. I would doubt. Hopefully, they do keep it grounded, and we really care about this Barry Allen and what's going on, and hopefully they do a great job. And the multiverse is a thing after this. We'll see.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and try to counter you guys' points because you guys are comparing a lot of what the MCU is about to do to the DCU. And I just think you can't do it. You can't compare them because the MCU has a very, very faithful core audience that will go see a Captain Marvel movie and make it $1 billion. That's how loyal the MCU fans are. And they've already, and the MCU has earned that with their whole, I don't know how many movies they are in, like over 20 movies in at this point. DCU doesn't have that. DCU does not have that. DCU's audience is split, in my opinion. You have the Snyderverse, the people that just love that verse, and they're not going to give anything else a chance. And I just don't think they're as united as the MCU fans are. And I think Marvel is trying it with the Multiverse of Madness because they can take risks at this point. They really can. They have the built-in rapport with the audience that they can take risks like this. And I don't think DC can take risks like this. They're going to, obviously, but I think it's like I said, I think it's going to be interesting to see the reception to DC trying it.
Yeah, I think I can see where you're coming from, but I think DC could totally take risks because they can make a movie like whatever Birds of Prey like flopped, right? But it's not like that doesn't ruin the Harley Quinn brand for them now because it isn't all interconnected. That's almost like their strength now, like as opposed to Marvel. Their strength is almost a disconnectedness. Oh, you don't like that one? Like we could have not liked the Joker and it wouldn't have mattered. Like if it was a horrible movie, right? But it ended up being a great movie and still not that it doesn't matter, but it's still not affecting other stories. So we'll see. I mean, audiences are getting more sophisticated. People have more time to sit around and watch stuff and really absorb stuff. So we'll really see, And one thing I brought to mind though, when you were talking about Keaton to me was in Justice League when Batman appeared and they had the Batman theme, the 89 Batman theme came on. My head just went so far into my hand, so far into my face, man. Like
was that a Whedon thing or was that was not a Snyder thing?
Yeah, of course it was a Whedon thing, man. Of course it was a Whedon. He brought in Danny Elfman, man. Of course it was a Whedon thing, yo. So yeah, so we can go a lot of different directions. Yeah.
I mean, you brought up a great point with Joker. That was a risk, and Joker hit $1 billion, being the first rated R movie to hit $1 billion.
Yeah, but it could have been a flop, but it still wouldn't have mattered anyways. It's not like the brand of the Joker would have been ruined. You know what I mean? Like the only thing this could really hurt is the cinematic brand of the Flash. We know he works on TV.
The DCEU main continuity, kind of. Yeah.
And then that's another question. I mean, I guess it's a question we should get more into when we get into the Snyder Cut. But is there going to be a main, continuity? Is there going to be multiple continuities? Is there going to, you know what I mean? Like, clearly the Batman's not hooking up with everything else, but that's a different discussion, I guess. We can get into that a little later. But another thing. Someone mentioned, I forgot who it was in the panel, but they were like, we can't wait for you to see the Speed Force. I can't wait what Muschietti has done with the Speed Force. And looking at this concept art, and what you could do with, big budget films. It might be really amazing to see the Speed Force in this movie and what they have imagined and dreamed up for us. It would have been cool to get a little more glimpses of that, you know what I mean? But I guess this is a little glimpse of it right here. So like, they could really do a lot with this property.
It was also confirmed that the Flash in the DCEU got his name from Grant Gustin's Flash on the CW. So that is canon now. And I thought that was pretty interesting because, like I said, they can literally do anything now. Characters on TV can cross over to the movies and vice versa.
Are we going to see Grant Gustin in the movie?
I don't know.
We're going to see him run by him? See from his perspective?
See, I think we're going to get one of those scenes where Barry's traveling through the multiverse and we see shots of things like fan service as we're going by. So maybe.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo your comments on Batman Beyond, Brax. If I could get a Batman Beyond movie, I'm 100% for Keaton. I take everything back that I said. Static Shock was announced to be in development just yesterday. And if we get Static Shock and Batman Beyond on the big screen, those are two cartoons that I grew up on as a kid. To get to see those in live action would be unreal. And another thing I wanted to comment on, I'm not sure who, but I saw earlier someone commented that they think Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is going to tie into Robert Pattinson's Batman in some way. And this is a theory that I've heard, a lot of people kind of would be interested to see. I've seen some people be very against it. And I think one of the strengths that DC has, in a sense, but also one of the things I am not a big fan of, is that they've embraced this concept of the multiverse fully. But they've also played it very fast and loose, Take the Arrowverse, for example. You got Supergirl. You got Black Lightning. You have Constantine. These are 3 shows that were not part of the Arrowverse initially, but eventually became it. You have Doom Patrol with Titans, which originally was going to be a spin-off of that show and set in the same universe. The show comes out. Apparently, they're uncorrelated. You know what I mean? So while it was confirmed at Fandome yesterday that Matt Reeves' Batman universe with the Batman and the GCPD show would be their own thing, I have no reason to believe that they're going to keep it that way. I have no reason to believe that they won't put in Joaquin Phoenix as Joker if they think will make money, or to believe that he won't show up in The Flash. I don't trust them at all. They're going to do what they think it makes the most money at the end of the day because they can, because they've given themselves that power with the multiverse,
Yeah. Well,
Audibles can be made in the 20th hour, or is it 24th or 23rd hour? I don't know what the saying is, but yeah, they can always call an audible, if stuff's not working or if they want to make a bunch of money.
Yeah, I mean, the options are limitless for them, really, if you really think about it. But at the end of the day, a superhero movie mixed with Back to the Future sounds awesome. If they do it right, that's a great pitch right there. So, I mean, what they're really doing here is, this is another way to answer your question too, TC, of how it would streamline it for audiences. The reason that it makes actually a lot more sense for them to pull Michael Keaton versus Jeffrey D. Morgan is half people don't even realize Jeffrey D. Morgan was even in Batman versus Superman. Like, I mentioned a lot of people are like, oh, that was him, wasn't it? You know what I mean? But if they use the multiverse with familiar cinematic, they're doing the same thing with the comics, but they're using what they've already established on screen, and you use those elements to twist them and change them, and we get you might get a good Batman, but what if he goes to a different he changes time, and then Affleck's like fully crazy Batman? You know what I mean? Like, we don't even know if we're getting the real Batman. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of different ways they could play with this. They could really play with audiences' emotion with with their connections with characters that have already been around already. That they could play with, which might really pull off that emotional impact in ways that they did in the comics for us. We might not get the Atlantean Amazonian war, but we might get a war between the Jokers and and whatever, in another group. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of possibilities, but we'll see soon, and hopefully there will be more to see soon, and we'll talk about it more, and we'll write about it more. So check us out on the Illuminerdi for more on the Flash. That's all we got for the Flash wrap up for the DC Fandome. So let's keep it moving to the Snyder Cut.
Yes.
All right. So at DC Fandome, one of the most anticipated events was promised footage from Zack Snyder of his Snyder cut of the Justice League, and it delivered. We got a trailer, we got a panel, we got questions answered, we got fan interactions, we got call-ins from cast members. It was an interesting panel. TC, what'd you think of the panel?
Dark Side.
We got Dark Side. What'd you think of the panel before you get into the footage?
I thought the panel was cool. Zach was there. Just I think everybody showed up except for Jason. But Ben Affleck was there. Gal Gadot. They were all asking questions. That was pretty cool. But we were all. I mean, me personally, I was just waiting to see the trailer because this guy has to fill 4 hours.
Pause it.
All right, hold on.
Perfect.
This guy has to fill 4 hours of footage that is different than what we've seen in the actual theatrical cut. And that is a long time. So I don't know how much footage he actually has. He must have a ton of footage.
Yep.
And so in the trailer that we got, it was basically kind of some of what we saw already in some of the marketing. It was really cool to see that the tone is just very Snyder. The shots are beautiful. Snyder's, he's visually stunning. All of his shots. You saw the Iris West scene, which she was nowhere in Justice League. You see the scene where Barry's saving her. You see, shots of Barry running through the multiverse or the Speed Force. Sorry. And so it was pretty cool to see, little teasers of what we can expect in a whole film. What I want out of the Snyder film or the Snyder cut is show me a film that I feel is completely different than what we got. If I go into the film and I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of, very similar, or they're using a lot of, it just feels like the same film, I'm not going to be, happy about it. But overall, I think it was a good showing of this first kind of like little teaser that he gave us.
Well, before you go to Corbin, let me give you a little background real quick. They said that approximately only 20% of this footage was used in the Justice League.
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a 4-hour movie, so there's a lot of stuff. I think it's more than just alternate shots. And another interesting comment that he had was, did you guys see that beef that he had with Scott Mendelson?
Yes.
On Twitter? Yeah, so essentially Mendelson said it's it looks like the same thing with just different takes or whatever. And Zach snapped back on him. But what he said that was interesting. I don't know if he said that in a tweet or if he said it in a follow-up, but he said this movie is for grown-ups. This isn't
I don't like his response.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's responded directly to him right there, but he essentially said this isn't a color. Oh no, he did. It was to him because he said that in your review or something like that, you mentioned that the original Justice League was a colorful explosion of colors or whatever the quote was, and he was like, "Yo, but I'm making movie. I'm making a Justice League for grown-ups," and that's what his attention is. So it looks like we're gonna get another, more of his hard-hitting style. The reason I wanted to stop right there, though, the Hall of Justice, yo, the Hall of Justice,
right there.
The thing I love about what he's doing is he's taking these things that are cartoony and kids, and he's finding real world reasons to put them in this movie. So I'm really interested in seeing what this adult, because I mean, if you can see by the comments I've already made so far, it depends on the character, obviously, but in general, I like to see my characters be taken seriously, because when I'm reading comics, and when I was reading comics growing up, in my mind, I was taking that shit seriously. Like, how could this happen in the real world? Or how could it fit into a real world, paradigm? And this is a great example of it right here, of this cartoon Hall of Justice that we used to see on Super Friends, like you brought up, TC, and it's a real thing in this movie, so it's really interesting. But I'm assuming we're going to see a lot more. Corbin, what are you thinking about? What do you think about the panel?
I like the panel a lot. I was looking forward to that very much as well. I like seeing the cast, coming back, talking with Zach. Like seeing the fans speak about the film. One thing I thought was funny, just regarding the fan Q&A, he asked time and time again if members of the Release the Snyder Cut movement actually thought it was ever going to happen, and it made me think that he probably didn't think it was going to. And the fact that we're here now, we've got a trailer for it, we've got a general time frame for release. Congratulations to Zack Snyder. I know, I wasn't ever 100%. It's not going to happen, but I didn't think it would. I didn't expect it, but here we are. And I think that's an amazing thing, that the fan outcry was heard, and that this man is able to come back and give us his uncompromised vision. Other interesting things to note from it. So it's gonna be a 4 hours long, right? 4-part mini series, but we can also watch it as like one cohesive unit. I like that. I don't necessarily trust it yet. It's experimental. It's not something we've really seen done in this genre before.
He did mention that we can watch it as one thing, but it still made it seem like they're gonna come out like weekly still, though, right? That's what it made it sound like. Like at the end, you could watch it all together.
Yeah, you know what? It might have something to do with like how subscriptions on HBO Max work. Like, someone can just, if it comes out, maybe they want that person who subscribes to stay there for the full month, so that they're at least charged the first, they can't just sign up, watch it, and then cancel their membership or something like that.
Don't mess up and let me run HBO Max, because I would have 1 hour come out every month. So I'd make sure I got 4 hours, 4 months
of payment.
Yeah. Right. I mean, because now that's an hour of a big budget movie. Shoot. What are you saying, Corbin?
Weekly release is definitely the way to keep, to draw on subscribers and to keep, the Snyder Cut in the public's mind for a long time. You look at the Marvel Netflix shows, right? I think they're largely popular, with a couple of misses here or there, but since they dropped the whole series at once, they weren't really the talk of the people for very long at any given time. The only exception maybe being Daredevil. Then you could look at something like The Mandalorian. Mandalorian was the talk of the town for like 2 months and then some, because of that release schedule. So I would have to assume they're going for a weekly release to start off with. I'd be surprised if they just dropped it all at once.
I was shocked that he said it's for 1 hour, because I thought it would at least been 5, because you got to get people through the first month to get that first free month subscription. Mm-hmm. I thought for sure it would have been like 5. I mean, I can't do the math in my head right now, but 5, 45, 50-minute video, however long it takes. But hey, we're getting it. Yeah. It's happening. Hey, do you mind rolling the tape?
Oh, thank you for telling me.
No, it's all good. No, we weren't even talking about it. So.
Interesting thing of note about it being 4 hours. It was very famously, promoted before it was officially announced, and being, I think, 314 or 214 minutes long, right? So that would have been about 3.5 hours. Okay, that was already shot. That just needed visual effects work done. So that, since it's 4 hours, we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that reshoots are recurring. And that makes me think we're probably going to get Martian Manhunter. We're probably going to get Green Lantern. That's not confirmed by any way, but we're getting additional filming. Another thing
I don't know about. I didn't hear about that. Like them attempting to do some type of reshoots.
Where would the other half hour come from if not?
I just assume that he has all of that content already shot.
I think that some people are coming back for reshoots. I think that's probably how it's going to work. Like, I bet you, like, Ray Fisher's going to probably come back, right? Mm-hmm. Or Henry Lennox, who played Swanwick, who ends up becoming Martian Manhunter. He did confirm that. You're correct. I mean, Snyder confirmed that himself. There have been behind the scenes rumors that take this as breaking or whatever, but that he originally didn't have Martian Manhunter in the plans, and that he later on, after he was off the film, kind of used it to kind of hype people up for the Snyder Cut.
I had a feeling,
but there's no way I can't confirm that for sure or anything. It's what's we've heard behind the scenes, but there's been, we've already seen concept art of Martian Manhunter. We've already seen, and if you see Man of Steel, and if you see Batman vs Superman, it just makes sense for the character. Like, it just makes 100% sense. So
yeah, I wanted to piggyback off of what Corbin said earlier in terms of releasing it, like, instead of like doing the whole just dropping it like a Netflix Daredevil, or just like a binge watch culture. It is smarter to go episode by episode, because you give people like us, you give content creators a week to talk about it, right? And to hype the next episode up. If you just, do like what's it called, a full season dump or something like that, like they used to do with the Marvel Netflix. Yeah, you talk about it for like maybe a couple days, or then it's just over with. So I think all kind of series moving forward should kind of adopt the older school model of releasing like one episode per week. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
That's a great point. I mean, because it generates talk, like you said. Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. In this trailer, he managed to put in a lot of things that people were asking about. Where's Iris West? Just a lot of different shots. Where's the black Superman suit? Where just a lot of dark side.
Look how she's looking at him.
You mentioned
She's looking at me. What you talking about, man?
And something that I think's interesting about Darkseid, and for one, I think he looks great. I'm very excited to see him. Love the design. But so Steppenwolf's supposed to be the main villain, right? That's what we've been told. That's how it seems it's going to be. We have no real reason to believe that's not going to be the case. But I think it's interesting that the first teaser we got a few months back was just purely Darkseid. It's just a shot of him and with Wonder Woman earlier in it. And then this trailer opens up with Darkseid. And so it was originally supposed to be Justice League Part 1 and Part 2 later with Darkseid as the main villain, right? I hesitate to even ask this because I know I'm going to get some people just questioning me for it, but the only thing stopping Justice League Part 2 from happening was Ben Affleck. He wasn't coming back. He was done with the role. Now he's back. Now they're showing Darkseid as the first character in each of the teasers we've gotten so far. You think there's a chance we could get a sequel if this is popular enough? What do you think?
No, you know what stopped the sequel from happening? It wasn't Ben Affleck. It was the fact that Justice League made $77 million on its opening weekend. Hit the brakes.
Yeah. I think if they release this on HBO Max, and if this is a hit, and I mean HBO Max has like a record number of subscriptions and they make a lot of money, then they may possibly be like, okay, Snyder, this was a freaking hit. Like maybe they'll offer like a chance at like an HBO Max series on it to continue the Snyderverse or whatever on HBO Max. But like I said, this has to kill it on HBO Max for that to happen.
I think it's going to kill it, and I think the possibilities are high, TC. I think that's good. I mean, you think about it, too. Snyder's already getting familiar with filming movies for streaming services. He's making the sequel to Dawn of the Dead on Netflix now. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And, what if they, if he takes just the Cyborg character and makes a Cyborg series or movie or, whatever it may be. Makes sense to me, I thought it was also interesting in this, too, because it's interesting they had a good point of imprinting how much influence that Snyder had over the early DCU with Wonder Woman and other films, because he's still a producer on there. So there's still a lot they can do. This
aspect ratio was weird. You guys see the aspect ratio? It's like 3:4.
It is odd.
It's IMAX.
Okay.
It's IMAX.
But yeah, I like Darkseid's appearance in the first shot. And it's a young Darkseid, right? I don't really know his name. It's like Uxas or something like that. And I think it's cool that he included that. And then also we get Black Suit Superman shots. What do you guys think about the song choice?
Oh, good. That's one of the things we could put it on because we get copyrighted for the song. See, the thing about Snyder, all his trailers are dope, and he always pitches like really amazing music. I remember the Comic-Con trailer for the original one for Watchmen at Comic-Con in like 2009. He had a Smashing Pumpkins song that was like so perfect for the Watchmen like material, was like on point. But this, he already used it in Watchmen. So all I could think about was the scene in Watchmen while I'm sitting there watching this movie. I'm like, this trailer, I'm like, I don't know. It really threw me off. That's one thing that really threw me off.
Personally, on the one hand, I think it reminded me of when they announced the title of Spider-Man: Homecoming, and that it would be a Marvel Studios production. And if that sounds weird, allow me to explain. So Homecoming, obviously, in the movie ties into the dance. But I remember when they announced that, to me, that felt like a middle finger to Sony. Like, we got it back. He's ours now. You know what I mean? So for him to go with Hallelujah in the Snyder cut, after it being fans begging for it for years and for it finally to arrive, it's the song choice. He goes with the title. I like that. That makes me smile.
This trailer, no doubt, was speaking directly to fans. Like,
it was a bit on the nose. It was a microcosm of the whole thing. it was a microcosm of the whole Snyder Cut movement. And like, here you guys go, hallelujah, we got it done, right?
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. It's kind of weird to have a trailer like speak directly to you like that. It's kind of interesting. I think you're right. Like, I guess the original plan was Darkseid was for part 2 of the Justice League, but if they're gonna tease him like this in it, it sounds like, or it seems like, they're just taking some of the elements that they were putting from 2 and putting it in 1, maybe, or because also you got to remember,
whole movie is a marketing ploy for Justice League Part 2.
Well, no, because you think about it, you got to remember that. So he's filmed Batman vs Superman, right? And then it premiered in March of 2016. And then there's immediate backlash to the movie when it was released. But they were supposed to start shooting Justice League in April. And what Warner Brothers did at that time was like, pump the brakes. And the plan was for him to shoot Justice League 1 and 2 at the exact same time. Right? It was in the extraordinary part about it was that they were filming Justice League literally a month after the premiere of Batman vs Superman. So like some of the things they could stop, so they couldn't stop the production design, they couldn't stop the look of it, but they were like, "Yo, you got to make this more cartoony, you got to make this more family friendly, you got to make it whatever the notes for people."
You got to make it more Marvel.
That's sorry, because that's exactly what it would be. They hired Joss Whedon after that, right? And that was their mistake. You know what I mean? But who knows? You know. Woo, some good shots. I mean, another thing I like about this trailer is you can really see there's a lot more character development. I like the scenes of seeing like Martha and Lois Lane like reconnecting after his death. I like this, and hugging.
They took out the scene of Cyborg's father being killed in front of his eyes. Like that's not in the original Justice League, right?
Hell no. Nah.
Why would you ever take that scene out of any movie? That it hits you. That's supposed to be like a pivotal moment in Cyborg's origin, and it's literally not in the movie at all.
So, bro, I mean, we were there. We talked about it at Hall H for the original debut of the trailer, the original Justice League trailer, and that movie looked badass, right?
I was hyped. Yeah,
it looked badass. I was
they
hyped,
had that shot there with Jason Momoa walking, in the waves like splashing over him. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, throwing the bottle down. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna get a lot more backstory. We're gonna get a complete story, and who knows if it's gonna be good, but there's no doubt it's gonna be better than we got before. And it'll be interesting to see where the DCU goes from now. In an interview he had recently, he actually mentioned that Snyder did that he thinks that the continuity of the DCEU actually follows the Justice League, not his cut. So it'll be interesting to see if things kind of switch around after this,
I mean, what the end game here for Snyder is, let me continue the Snyderverse on HBO Max as like a Game of Thrones, budget type production, where so maybe some of these actors want to come back and kind of do that. I mean, that's what I think maybe his end game is, or the end game for the Snyderverse and their fans. Like they want this to continue as one timeline.
It would be foolish for Warner Brothers to ignore how many fans love Zack Snyder's work. Just at the bottom line, it would just be foolish for them. So like they have to give him a character. I mean, there's a lot of people go back and forth about him, but I think that a lot of his movies, not all of them, like I don't think Sucker Punch is, but a lot of his movies are going to age well. 10, 15 years down the line, we'll look back at it and still be able to watch some of these movies. So I think they're in good standings. Warner Brothers in good standings now that they kind of get some of that stuff cleared up. They still got more Cyborg stuff to clear up.
All right.
So we'll see how that goes, right, with the previous regime and all that kind of stuff, and some of the people that are still there. But it seems like there's a lot of good stuff ahead. I'm excited, and it's definitely going to be one of the biggest projects, movie, superhero things to kick off 2021. That's for sure. And it's coming on TV.
Sir. Yes, sir.
I'm ready. You guys have anything else for the Snyder Cut?
I was curious how you two felt about the Steppenwolf redesign. That's been kind of controversial. But personally, I really dig it. I think he looks badass. I think he looks so much better than he did in Justice League. How do y'all feel about it?
I think it's okay. Like, I'm not really like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Like, is he gonna still speak? Because he looks like a demon. Like he looks like he doesn't even have a mouth. He looks very, animalistic and just very different from like the humanoid kind of appearance they gave him in the original Justice League. I didn't speak about Desaad, which is where did he come from?
That's a
Anyway,
badass design.
yeah. So I don't know. The whole redesign of Steppenwolf, I wasn't really like too hyped for, but I mean, I'm interested to see how it's going to play out. Like, are they going to actually like change the character and some of his lines of Steppenwolf, or yeah, I'm just
Oh,
interested.
yeah, I think it have to, because I mean, the movie was rewritten. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like on board with UTC. I'm more, or just in general, I'm more concerned about the characterization, how he fits into the plot. Hopefully, it's not two dimensional. You know what I mean? I like the fact that they seem more alien. They seem like, oh, this is some shit I've never seen in real life. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
I'm excited. I mean, also another thing is we'll get a better explanation of the mother boxes.
Yes.
In the mythology behind that. And I'm completely perplexed why they included this shot right here of his dad getting killed. They could have just had this shot of him going, no. It would have been like, what's happening? That would have been awesome. But like, there must be even more to this scene that's even more heartbreaking. So I'm ready for it. I'm here for it.
It should be a good time, no doubt.
All right. Well, that's our coverage of Zack Snyder's The Justice League from DC Fandome. Thanks for joining us for it. Now let's move on to our next subject. Next thing up in our final,
but not least,
we had to go somewhere. We had to go somewhere big, and we went to the Batman. Now they
just
had their.
Oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
I'm saying just like DC Fandome gave it to us as the main event, we're giving it to you guys as the main event.
There you go. Last but definitely not least, the Batman. So they had an actually interesting panel with Aisha Tyler and director Matt Reeves, doing kind of a one-on-one within Jim Lee's what do they call it? His design. It's interesting also, before you get into the Batman, how much influence Hall of Heroes, exactly. How much influence Jim Lee clearly has now over Warner Brothers DC department. I mean,
a lot.
He was in multiple panels, right? Multiple panels. He designed the look of it. I mean, he's clearly like, if not the Kevin Feige, he's getting there for DC now. So it's interesting. And after the Jeff Johns experiment, it'll be interesting to see how another comic book creator fits into this role, because he seems a lot more comfortable. He seems really behind. I don't know if you guys watched a bunch of different panels, but he's talking about the multiverse, and
he was all over the place, man. He was all over DC Fandome.
Yeah, and he was dropping dimes all over, but really he was just so excited about the future of the DC on film. You know what I mean? So we should keep an eye on him as far as what he's doing and how he's maneuvering, because he might be the new man coming up, or already is the man and hasn't just been crowned.
DC needs its Kevin Feige, and it's been trying to find it for so long. They tried to make it Jeff Johns, but that really hasn't hasn't planned out. So Jim Lee is a name. Jim Lee is a big name in DC. So if he can somehow, become the new face of DC or the DC movie universe moving forward, that would be pretty dope.
Doesn't he share the same title as Feige? Feige's the chief creative officer of Marvel. Isn't Jim Lee DC's chief creative officer, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Has he done a lot of stuff like with the movie side though, guys? I know he's all over the comic side. Like
he's been involved, but he wasn't the head guy.
Okay.
He's been involved, yeah. So he's definitely been at the very least consultant on some things as a producer.
His Battinson design, the artwork for that, the red image we got before the panel, that was beautiful.
That's him right there.
Yeah, that was even better than the actual suit, to be honest with you.
All right, well, let's get into it. Let's get into the Batman, huh?
Oh man, where do we start? I guess I'll go first. I was cheesing throughout this whole thing. I really kind of I didn't have like major doubts about Robert Pattinson becoming Batman, because I'm not one of those people that were like, oh, sparkly vampire, he's not Batman, right? Because I've seen him, in a couple other movies like Lighthouse, and I was like, okay, let's give him a chance, right? The thing I was kind of worried about is like him trolling his troll comments, where he's like, oh, it's something about Batman doesn't have to work out, or he didn't want to work out.
Oh yeah, James Dean didn't work out, so I don't work out. He was like eating ham sandwiches or something on the floor, like.
But
David
as
Hasselhoff.
soon as this trailer played and as soon as the end note hit, I was completely sold, dude. Everything in this trailer is fantastic to me. This screams psychological thriller. This screams crime drama detective story. This screams like a back and forth with him and Riddler. There's a shot of Penguin, supposedly Penguin, Colin Farrell's Penguin, which I still don't believe that that's Colin Farrell, but you guys are gonna have to prove to me that that's
When it comes up, pause it.
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, just this whole trailer, like the tone of it, the fact that we get that one bat combo and we see Batman in action and then we hear his voice. The suit looks fantastic, like in movement. I wasn't a fan of like how the cowl looked in some, angles of the shots, but man, this trailer really kind of shut me up in terms of any doubts on this movie.
Initial thoughts, Corbin?
Yeah, so my first thought when I finished watching it, so not that anyone needs to compare the two, but I really liked Ben Affleck in Batman vs Superman. I really dug him, and until this trailer, I was much more excited to see him return in Zack Snyder's Justice League and now The Flash. After I finished the trailer, I'm more interested in the future of this character than I am in Batflex. To be honest, I think the trailer opening up with the sound of that duct tape stretching and the dude's face duct tape shut with no more lies on it. That's a cold way to open a trailer. That gave me chills right off the bat. You mentioned Penguin. If that's Colin Farrell with prosthetics on, that's unreal. That's absolutely unbelievable. The scene where he goes to town on that one guy, I am vengeance, like beautiful. Beautiful. We can get action like that throughout the whole film. We're going to be in for a serious treat. I really like Matt Reeves as a director. I thought he did a great job with the second two Planet of the Apes movies in that trilogy. That's fantastic. That being said, I'm not without my concerns. The big thing for me is that Robert Pattinson seems, his take on the character, he seems very emotionally raw. He seems like an exposed nerve. He feels like he's uneasy as Batman, almost like he's unsure of who he is. And if this is a year 2 story, I'm not sure that's where I want him to be at mentally. He's already been Batman for a year. I want him to be a little more confident in his status as the protector of Gotham, as the Dark Knight. Now, that being said, this trailer is made out of only 25% of the film. A lot can change. That may be an unfair assumption I'm making just based on these 2 minutes. But I want my Batman to be dark and gritty. I don't want him to be, as my friend RJ put it, super emo. And vibes here. But overall, great panel, great trailer.
Yeah. So when I saw this trailer, a bunch of movies like came to mind immediately. First, I was like, okay, this fits into like the kind of like Nolan vision of a Batman universe. And then obviously when you see the duct tape and the No More Lies, I'm thinking Seven. Then by the end of the trailer, I'm thinking I was thinking The Crow when I was seeing the makeup on his eyes. You know what I mean? Like there's clearly. Oh, and I was thinking Daredevil during the Batman beatdown. So it's clearly like a lot of different influences in this movie. But like usually when that happens, it usually makes something very very unique in and of its own. But I really like the hardcore murder mystery, David Fincher, dark style. I mean, I think that really fits for the character of Batman. I mean, so many of his stories are just like that from the comics, and seeing this is just like spot on. One of the first things I noticed in this trailer, man, was and these little things kind of show you how much they're thinking about things. When it opens with, or it's not commissioner, he looks like he's just Lieutenant Gordon, or he doesn't look like he's commissioner yet. Gordon walking down the hallway, and you get a shot from You get a shot from Batman's POV, from his perspective, of all the cops looking at him as he's walking down the hall. And as he walks down the hall, they all turn towards him and look like, who is this guy? Who is this? And this is something we've never really explored fully. We've always had the Gordon connection with Gordon and Batman, right? Aside from the cartoons, I always wondered, like, how does this guy, aside from being a straight-on vigilante and criminal, how does he function with the police? And I think this is really going to explore how this criminal, little criminal, is being walked into the crime scene to help the police do their thing. And I'm really excited to see how they blend those things. And Corbin, you mentioned the HBO Max series coming up. In the panel, Reeves mentioned that, and actually you wrote a feature about this too for the Illuminerdi, about the complications behind having an HBO series about the cops of Gotham City. And he explained that the way they're really tackling it with Terrence Winter, creator of like Boardwalk Empire and The Sopranos, is that they're really focusing on the corruption of the cops of the police force. So that's really interesting, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they take these real world elements and take this vigilante, and how Batman, I wonder by the end of the movie, is he going to be on the run from the police straight up? And it's really interesting. There's a ton of different ways it can go. There was a shot in the trailer of him brawling with the police, and then Commissioner Gordon, like, it looks like he's like fighting him, but it seems like he's trying to get them away from the cops so he doesn't get himself killed. You know what I mean? Like, there's some things in Batman that I've always thought about, like, how does that work in the real world? You know what I mean? Like, I thought about that. You think about the scene in The Dark Knight when they capture the Joker and they turn off the lights and they turn back on the lights and Batman's there. I'm like, well, the cops sure are complicit in this. You know what I mean? Like, how does that work? So I'm really interested in seeing that aspect of this. How about you guys?
Yeah. There's a line that Alfred says in this one. He's like, "You're becoming quite popular," which to me,
celebrity.
That's
Batman.
telling me that Batman, he's right. He's like an urban myth at this point, right? And now he's starting to do more of Batman things, and people are starting to know of the Batman. And going back to Corbin's point of this Robert Pattinson's Batman not really being secure, solidified, Batman, like this, he's still questioning himself. And you could tell he's still questioning this whole thing. But I think that has to do with the actual plot of the movie. I think the Riddler is going to be psychologically messing with Batman and kind of destroying his whole worldview. If the Riddler's able to go to Batman and be like, you know what, this is what your parents did, those people, or why you're doing all this crime fighting as Batman, well, this is who you're doing it for. This is who your dad was. And he's exposing maybe the Wayne's corruption. Maybe this is making Robert Pattinson being like, oh man, like, what am I doing this for? Like, am I really doing the right thing? So that's what I see going on here when I see the trailer, and him being kind of like not really set on his job as Batman yet. He's still questioning himself.
You bring up a great point, TC. Like, there's two things. Like, the Riddler is probably like one of the only characters that I could think of that could really like actually outsmart or is as smart as Batman. So it's going to be interesting that we're going to get the legit detective's story here. You know what I mean? Like, it's really going to challenge him. Two, yeah, I get what you're saying, Corbin, about him not being like fully realized as Batman, but this being year 2, you got to think it's actually like year 1 still. Like, he's been Batman for a year. You know what I mean? Like, that's actually not a lot. Like, a year flies by. So it's going to be interesting to see how they really tackle his growth and see where he ends up by the end of the movie. Where we get the gray and blue costume by the end of the movie, or you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of ways we could develop and really start off, because this is the beginning of a franchise, even though this isn't the beginning of his career. Wow, I mean, it's really exciting, yeah. It's like,
the Illuminati says Reeves has been quoted as saying this is a spiritual continuation of the Nolan trilogy, and I think I tweeted this out. I was like, this feels like Nolan. This is giving me Nolan vibes, except the action is going to be way better. I was never a fan of Nolan's action sequences with Batman. We're going to get a lot more detective work in this movie, and the Bat voice. I could not stand Christian Bale's Batman voice, and the 2 words that we heard from Robert Pattinson, I'm vengeance. Like, it already sounds amazing.
Are we getting I Am the Knight, I Am the Batman after that, or are they leaving at that? What do you guys think?
Ooh,
do bets?
I'd like to see it.
There's not a lot to say before we start punching everybody else.
But yeah, just to throw my 2 cents on the Riddler. So when the cast was announced, I was not familiar with Dano or Robert Pattinson out of the few Twilight movies I'd seen, right? And doing research, I went and I watched Swiss Army Man with Paul Dano, and just recently I watched Good Time, which was
I'm gonna give you 2 more. Let me give you 2 more suggestions to put in your book. Prisoners with Dano and Hugh Jackman, and There Will Be Blood. You got to watch those 2 movies because you're gonna be like, I'm ready. Go ahead.
That sounds great. And Swiss Army Man, it's going to be it's very very different role than what he's going to be doing in as the Riddler. He is we don't really see him at all unless he's the guy duct taping that dude's face early on in the trailer. But he's all over it. He's everywhere. He's this terrifying lurking presence that's not just haunting Batman, but he's haunting the whole city. And that movie convinced me of his acting ability. Good Time showed me that Robert Pattinson is so much more than a sparkly vampire, and the trailer just further confirmed that. So I think we've got an incredible cast put together for this movie. I love Colin Farrell. I'm very excited to see his Oswald Cobblepot.
Is that Colin Farrell?
Yeah, that's the question. Yeah.
Right?
I still don't believe it, dude. It's
so hard to see.
The prosthetics are so good that I still can't. I want Matt Reeves to come out and say, this is Colin Farrell.
We need confirmation. It's interesting. We had an article where there was a set photo of Colin Farrell walking on the set, and he had like white hair, like white or blonde hair.
Yeah,
it's like it's penguin out, but if he's going into full makeup, it makes a lot of sense why he just throw us off like that,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Ooh, stop there. All right, so we talked about
the Joker gang.
Yeah, the Joker, or maybe the Joker gang, right? Are those Jokers? Is that the influence that we're going to feel? Is Joker like already alive in the city and running around, and he has his gangs going, and those are the Jokers? Like,
I mean, that dude smile. That dude has one of those smiles that extends. So
Chelsea. I hope not. Honestly, I know it was. I think it was Daniel Richtman that had a rumor that Joker was planned for one of the sequels. In Matt Reeves' trilogy with these films. I'm very satisfied with the Joker we have in media right now. Joaquin Phoenix was great. They decided to go over a sequel with that. That's awesome. We can get the Ayer cut, and I can get like an actual performance from Jared Leto more than like 50 time. I'd be interested to see that. I want Matt Reeves' world to explore Gotham without the Joker initially for at least the first two films. I
agree.
We're exposed in Bat films, so I hope not, but it definitely could be. The Chelsea smile on that guy right there, definitely it's a good case to think that he is already a known presence.
I mean, I kind of agree with you too in terms of my bad, Brex.
No,
in terms of I don't want them to lean on Joker as a crutch. Like, I don't want them to always depend on Joker. Like, Batman's rogues gallery is just filled with so many great villains that they could use. So I'm on board with you there. Like, if they want to make Joker's presence an underlying thing, like throughout, these series of movies, that I'm okay with that. But just don't bring him in. You don't have to depend on the Joker for everything.
Yeah, I agree with you guys too about him being overexposed, but I think this is an interesting tactic if you think about it, because like you think about Batman movies, it's always like this movie is the Penguin movie, and this movie is the Catwoman movie, or this woman, but to slowly it's world building. That's exactly what it is. It's like he exists in this world. We're just not dealing with that. We're not talking about it right now. I hope they have a lot more of this. I hope we see maybe Two-Face doesn't always have gangs. What if there's a Two-Face gang? You know what I mean? Like, just so we can have like a sense of there's a world beyond the edges of this movie screen that we're watching that we can build to next time. You know what I mean? So like,
they should be constantly teasing if they're world building, and maybe have Arkham Asylum built, and maybe have Batman walk down like Arkham and look through each cell and see teases of stuff to come. Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be straight, Batman versus Superman, dun 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 dun, and check out the files and you see all this stuff. You know what I mean?
No.
I think the subtleness of when he runs into a street gang person, it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know what I mean, the street gang of the villain that he's going to. And another thing about this trailer too, we both got to keep in mind. They said this movie is very heavily based off of The Long Halloween, and in The Long Halloween, you keep thinking that oh, it's Joker. He's doing this. He's putting. Oh, it's the Riddler. He's putting this. Oh, it's the Calendar Man. He's putting this. That's the premise of a mystery movie. You know what I mean? Like, you think you know and you don't know. So they're really. I don't know if they're misdirecting, but they're saying it's the Riddler's the villain. The Riddler's the main villain. But who knows what's really going on here?
Maybe the Riddler will don his classic green towards the end of the movie, because right now he just looks like people are actually speculating like this has very like Hush vibes, and
That's what I thought it was originally.
Yeah, like he's not traditional, in traditional Riddler getup yet, so he could be early in his Riddler career.
That's another thing. Like and that's why we're having such a hard time with the Penguin and Colin Farrell casting. Like we're getting new interpretations of all these characters, and they're grounded, but it seems like they're still respecting. Like for example, let's look at let's talk about Catwoman because we haven't talked about her yet. It's interesting for her because it looks like it's year one for her. We get a stripped down, real basic Catwoman costume. Another thing I thought was interesting is to have the it's not the pink pussy hats, but it's a black pussy hat from from the real world. So they're really like adapting a lot of real world stuff, which is interesting. Man, I mean, it's
Sorry,
exciting.
I'm just counting the combo here. It's 12, 13, 14, 15, and then the 2 punches, 16, 17. Okay, it's a 17 hit combo.
And the greatest thing is the rest of them are just watching them like, damn, they ain't even helping their partner, man. Like, what's going on?
Batman is just whipping his what out right now, being like, hey, like,
let me tell you this. If one of y'all were getting whipped like that, either I'd help you or I'd leave. But I wouldn't just stick around watching that for one or the other. Fight or flight.
Yeah, regarding Catwoman and Zoe Kravitz, I was indifferent about. I've been kind of indifferent about her the whole time. Really, this trailer didn't push me one direction or the other. I believe the Cinema Spot reported that an HBO Max series is in development for Zoe Kravitz Catwoman. So it'll be interesting to see if that comes to light, if that does flesh her out more. But really, I mean, the trailer gave us a couple shots of her in a beanie, and that didn't.
What's interesting is that last shot. I don't know if you guys noticed how Batman rose just like it's rising in the artwork right now. He rose in front of the Joker's gang just like that. It's kind of interesting. So that's probably some kind of a theme of him rising in the film as well.
Amen.
But I think this trailer really just, it delivered on what it was supposed to. It really kind of just built the hype for me personally. And I'm sure a lot of other people who had any doubts about Robert Pattinson or this whole direction or Matt Reeves or the tone or all that, I think everyone's on board. Most of everyone's on board.
Okay, let's take this conversation back to the multiverse again then. So you guys comfortable with this being a pocket dimension? We get a whole new Joker. We get a whole new, all the characters, the whole rogues gallery that we're used to, and just have them in their own world, kind of aside from everything else going on with Wonder Woman and everything. Or do you eventually want to see this Pattinson Batman with,
I'm okay
Gal
with
Gadot
it
and everybody?
I'm okay with it being its own thing.
When the movie was, at the time of its inception, it was going to be, a Ben Affleck solo movie in the DCU. I wanted that. I was looking forward to that. But that hasn't been the case for a long time. There's no point crying over spilt milk. Before Fandome, it was still kind of a question of whether this would be part of the DCU as a prequel or if it was its own thing. And even though DC's, continuity is anything but great and is probably only going to become more like Swiss cheese as time goes on, if this was part of the DCU, I think it would have caused several clear issues. Like how does Jeffrey Wright become J. Jonah Jameson, J.K. Simmons? That's his name. And that outside the DCU, my fear is that that's not going to be enough for him eventually. Is that they are going to use the fact that on the TV side of things, they've taken things that were in their own bubble and they've pushed them into a larger universe. I want it to be outside of the DC universe. It is. I'm happy with that, but it needs to stay that way. That's where they're going. So that's.
Yeah.
Well, if the DC EU main continuity starts to fail, and if this one starts to make a lot of money, it's going to tempt them to change that.
That is true. Well, if they're both making money, that's the ultimate goal, right? Then we get win-win. Yeah, one thing that does worry me about this, though, it's not Robert Pattinson as an actor, but it's more how they're portraying Bruce Wayne. He seems like he's Batman when he's Bruce Wayne in public. So there's a scene of him when the car comes through. You know what I mean? And he's just brooding, like He just seems like he's Batman. He seems like, his best way I could say is he seems like he's Batman. Like, it doesn't seem like, oh, I wouldn't guess that guy is like, you know.
You're right. There has to be an aspect of Bruce Wayne faking it or being fake, right?
There's not a single moment of Bruce Wayne, billionaire playboy, in this trailer.
You're right. What a great point.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you can go to that shot, I mean, or just run it again. Like when that car comes through, he just looks like a mess, man. He doesn't look
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't look like. You can just leave it here and it'll come up. He doesn't look like. He just looks like, you know what I mean. Like if there's a lineup and you're like, well, who could be Batman? Well, yeah, of course, the rich guy that, you know what I mean. Like, but another thing, I guess another thing we got to think about too is it's possible that the public doesn't even know who Batman exists right now.
True.
So this could have been happening. You read something in a newspaper, you're not thinking about like, so criminals ended up on the, you know, the front stoop of the police department. You're not really thinking about, you know what I mean?
Still might be an urban myth, and they might not even think he's real yet.
Or the thing about Batman is he projects a supernatural fear into the citizens, right? That supernaturalness might develop over the course of this movie. You know, like the sense of supernatural. You know?
Right.
One thing I really love. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's one thing that I hope they're not scared of is going supernatural, because in Nolan's universe they were 100%. Well, no, I can't say that because Scarecrow was.
No, you could develop a toxin.
Yeah, that's pretty realistic. Yeah. This one, like, I want Clayface to be able to exist in this universe somehow. Like, I want them to be able to go super. I don't want them to be scared of supernatural, because Batman, to me, a great mix of realistic and surrealism is perfect. Is a perfect combo. And if they can't put some, like, can you see Clayface existing in this Matt Reeves universe?
That's why I was making that face.
Right now, probably not. Yeah.
Right. I just don't want them to go. I don't want them to be scared to go there. And right now, I'm not really seeing it.
Oh no, this is a completely practical take so far from what we're seeing. Like, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you've got comic book adaptations that were, you know, critically panned. Audiences weren't terribly fond of either, despite my own personal feelings. Like Iron Fist and Inhumans, right? These are characters who are very out there, very, very comic booky, you know, as much as you can be, really. And in those adaptations, they felt the need to ground them, to make them feel as close to the real world as they could be. And it took the fun out of it, and the adaptations were not very good as a result. So you make a great point. You have to be able to blend the gritty realism with the supernatural, with the paranormal. Like, take Batman vs. Superman, for example. I remember being in theaters and the first scene where we see Ben Affleck's Batman. You know, you have those cops, they go and free all those sex slaves, and Batman is like flying around on the roof.
You're taking my stuff. I was waiting. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I remember seeing that scene, and I'd never seen Batman in live action feel like the mythical urban myth legend that he's made out to be in the source material.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, I need that.
Yeah, no, when he was on that wall in the corner, that was sick.
Yeah. So I was going to bring that up. Like, but that's the thing. Like, I think that Batman can function completely grounded, you guys. I think that how the filmmaker makes the characters, how you perceive the characters is the important part, right? So, like, I think that's why I was going to bring up that. It's a perfect example. I was going to bring up that shot because he's actually not doing anything supernatural. But from the cop's perspective, it seems like he's sticking to walls. It seems like he's flying around the room because they don't understand it. You know, what's the saying? It's from Marvel too. Like, all magic is technology you don't understand, or something like that. You know, I mean, that's essentially what Batman is. He's using technology and he's being theatrical.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think you could adapt similar versions of that for almost every other character, sans, you know, Clayface. And I mean, I can think of a couple others, obviously, but like, I think it works as a grounded notion. It's just if they want to blend it over with other franchises, part of their franchises, where it gets kind of complicated.
100%.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know, but it looks like a good time, man. Like I was expecting a lot, but I was really nervous, and I think we're going to be happy with this. And this is only 25%. Oh, there's the shot we're looking for. Like, look at him. Look at him. I mean,
he looks like Batman already.
Yeah, he already looks like Batman, right? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with the characters. It'll be interesting to see some of these characters we know develop into the characters that we actually love. Like, you know what I mean? Who knows? By the end, will she actually get her Catwoman suit? You know what I mean? The full one? Or is this just her? You know? That works too. But, you know.
Right.
Looks like a good time ahead. All right, guys. Well, do you guys have any final things to say about the Batman?
I think it looks great. I'm excited. I have my concerns, but more than anything, I'm eagerly anticipating this film's release.
Yeah, I think I'm hyped about it. I haven't been hyped in a long time when it comes to like DC movies, except for Joker really got me hyped to see. And this just like I'm excited to see this Batman in like 6 movies with different villains and different storylines. Like I'm excited for the eventual building of this Matt Reeves universe and where they can go with it. Imagine this Robert Pattinson Batman like 4 years in. That's where he'll probably be like in his prime, right? He'll wouldn't be questioning himself. He'll know how to do everything. He'll take on a mentor. Maybe we get Robin and later on. Like I'm excited for the future of this franchise.
They're giving us a lot of reasons to be excited. I mean, look at this. I mean, yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's do it, man. Let's get this movie filmed. They're going back soon. Let's make it happen, yo. All right, well, that's our coverage for DC Fandome and Batman and all of the above. It's been a great day. TC, where can people find you?
People would just find me on Twitter at TC Does Comics, just like the little name thing here. I just tweet about superhero stuff as usual. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, Corbin, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter. It's at Corbin Shanklin. It's my name. And on the Illuminerdi.com, bringing you articles on Black DC, Marvel, whole 9 yards.
There we go. Hey, we got a lot more to come on the Illuminerdi. Hopefully you enjoyed the information we brought to you today. I'm Braxton Timberlake. You can find me at Braxton Timberlake, but I'm always over at the Illuminerdi, of course. And hey, thanks a lot for joining us.